Max fire!
Transformers Armada animated series 2002 to 2003. Way before the Transformers movies took over the theaters, something exciting was happening on our TV screens. Enter Transformers Armada, a high-octane animated series. Premiering in 2002, Armada was co-produced by Japanese animation powerhouse Studio Gonzo and American entertainment giant Hasbro, with Takara, the original creators of Transformers in Japan, deeply involved behind the scenes. The series kickstarted a whole new era for the franchise, launching what fans now call the Unicron Trilogy. Armada brought in fresh character designs, a serialized story, and a tone that grew up alongside its audience, making it a key part of the experience for many early 2000s fans who were diving into Transformers for the first time. Whether you're returning to this nostalgic gem or diving into it fresh, Transformers Armada is more than just a Saturday morning cartoon. It's a fascinating case study in global animation, storytelling evolution, and giant robot warfare done right. Ready to roll out? In this video, let's explore what made Armada a cultural spark that still resonates in the Transformers. Also, if you appreciate our efforts, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more.
You have something of mine.
We have what?
Give it back immediately.
Episode 1. First Encounter. Eons ago, the Transformers, sent by a mysterious digital force, discovered the planet Cybertron. But their arrival sparked a brutal war, fueled by the discovery of small power-enhancing robots known as Minicons. Though seemingly insignificant, these compact beings could drastically boost the abilities of larger Transformers. Their power made them pawns in the growing conflict between the Autobots and the Decepticons. Over time, the Minicons grew weary of being used as tools of war. Seeking freedom, they eventually rose in rebellion. The struggle reached a breaking point, prompting both sides to call an uneasy truce. To prevent further conflict, the Minicons were gathered and sealed inside a spacecraft, which was then launched into the depths of space. For millions of years, that ship drifted silently until it collided with Earth's moon. One fragment broke off and fell to Earth, where the Minicons lay dormant beneath the planet's crust, hidden and forgotten. Cut to the present day. A young boy named Rad White narrates as he races to school on his bike, his best friend Carlos Lopez skating beside him. They meet up with their classmate, the sharp and curious Alexis Tidang, along with two loud-mouthed peers, Billy and Fred. After classes end, Rad and Carlos convince Alexis to explore a desert cave they recently stumbled upon. Deep inside the cave, the trio discovers an enormous underground chamber. As they explore, Carlos accidentally steps on a concealed panel. Suddenly, a glowing green panel illuminates the room. It's a Minicon storage unit. Activating it triggers a violent tremor, shaking the ground and sending out a beacon into space. 3 beams of energy, red, purple, and green, shoot into the void, and one awakens the dormant Minicons still buried within the moon's surface. The others reach far across the galaxy, activating ancient systems and alerting both Autobots and Decepticons on Cybertron. The centuries-old conflict is about to reignite. Back on Earth, the kids flee the cave just as a swirling portal opens in the sky. From it emerges Megatron, the fearsome Decepticon leader. He wastes no time, immediately demanding the Minicon device Rad holds. In response, the green Minicon, later known as Highwire, activates. Sensing danger, it scans Rad's bike and transforms into a futuristic motorcycle. Rad hops onto the vehicle, with Carlos and Alexis jumping aboard as Highwire speeds away. But Megatron gives chase, ultimately hurling a massive boulder that sends the trio crashing to the ground. With the children stunned and cornered, Megatron reaches for Highwire, claiming the Minicon as his own. Just as hope seems lost, another portal opens, this one bringing Optimus Prime to Earth. The heroic Autobot commander arrives in a flash of light, standing tall and ready to defend the planet from his longtime nemesis. As Megatron turns to face him, the ancient war resumes, this time on Earth.
What a weakling.
Episode 2. Metamorphosis. In the aftermath of their first harrowing encounter, Rad, Carlos, Alexis, and the newly awakened Minicon, High Wire, scramble to escape the desert cave, but their path is suddenly blocked as two more Decepticons, Starscream and Demolisher, teleport in, cutting off any route to safety. Towering and relentless, Demolisher reaches toward the children, his mechanical limbs closing in. Just in time, Autobot reinforcements arrive. Red Alert and Hotshot warp into the cavern through glowing Autobot conduits, immediately launching into action. Red Alert strikes first, drawing Demolisher's attention, while Hotshot engages Starscream, shielding the kids and High Wire from capture. The battle inside the cave erupts with clashing metal and bursts of energy. As the chaos unfolds, Alexis spots a familiar symbol on Hotshot's shoulder, the Autobot emblem. The realization hits her. These towering robotic beings aren't just machines. They're part of something much larger. Red Alert lands a crushing blow on Demolisher, momentarily knocking the Decepticon off balance and giving the kids enough cover to retreat deeper into the cavern system. Meanwhile, above ground, the confrontation between Optimus Prime and Megatron intensifies. Locked in combat, the two rivals clash with raw power. Optimus eventually hurls Megatron into a nearby cliffside, demanding that he stand down. But Megatron, ever defiant, disappears in a flash, leaving behind a chilling warning that the battle is far from over. With the immediate threat gone, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis, still reeling from the encounter, emerge from the depths of the cave alongside High Wire. On the surface, they're met by a gathering of Autobots. Optimus Prime stands at the center, flanked by Hotshot and Red Alert, now joined by additional reinforcements. The war for Earth is no longer abstract. It's unfolding before their eyes. The Autobots take a moment to explain the significance of the Minicons. High Wire, it turns out, is one of many powerful robotic allies capable of enhancing Transformer abilities. Both Autobots and Decepticons are now locked in a renewed race to locate and recruit them. What began as a hidden history has erupted into an all-out hunt, one with Earth at the center. Far away across the void of space, the threat continues to grow. On Cybertron and the Moon, Decepticon warrior Cyclonus intensifies his own search for dormant Minicons, extending the battlefield beyond Earth and setting the stage for a global and galactic conflict.
All for one and one for all.
Episode 3, Base. Episode 3 picks up right in the middle of the battle. Megatron, relentless and aggressive, unleashes a barrage of blasts at Optimus Prime, but his own power turns against him. One miscalculated strike sends a shockwave through the mountainside, throwing him off balance and crashing him into a cliff. The impact triggers a massive landslide that barrels straight toward Rad, Carlos, Alexis, and a group of newly awakened Minicons. Before the falling debris can reach them, Hotshot and Red Alert jump into action. Shielding the kids and the Minicons with their own armored frames, they absorb the brunt of the collapse. As the dust settles, the children spot glimmers across the battlefield. Several more Minicon storage panels have emerged from the ground, activated by the surge of energy. Before they can fully process the discovery, Starscream and Demolisher warp in to assist their wounded commander. Megatron, furious and determined, orders them to eliminate Optimus. The Autobot leader quickly retaliates, seizing Starscream by the head and slamming him into Demolisher. What follows is a fierce hand-to-hand clash between Optimus and Megatron, sparks flying as raw strength and experience collide. Nearby, Red Alert uncovers another Minicon. As it activates, both he and Hotshot pair with their respective Minicons, Long Arm and Jolt. Instantly, the upgrades kick in. The Autobots' weapons glow with new energy as they launch a precision attack. Their coordinated fire drives back the Decepticons, forcing them into retreat. Just before vanishing, however, Cyclonus snatches one of the newly activated Minicons and warps away, victorious. Later, on the Moon, Megatron fumes over the battle's outcome. Cyclonus proudly presents the stolen Minicon, earning praise from his leader, but the moment adds fuel to the growing tension among Megatron's inner circle. Each lieutenant is clearly vying for dominance, and alliances are tenuous at best. Back on Earth, the Autobots regroup at their base. Optimus takes the opportunity to explain the deeper significance of the Minicons to the children. While the Decepticons view them as tools to exploit, the Autobots treat them as partners and equals. Moved by what they've witnessed, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis offer to help in any way they can. The moment marks a shift from bystanders to allies. Introductions are made and friendships begin to form, even if awkwardly. In a light-hearted moment, the kids teach the Autobots how to do a fist bump, an act that ends in a humorous tremor shaking the base's structure, thanks to the Autobots' sheer size. The next day at school, reality creeps back in. Billy and Fred corner Rad and Carlos, pressing them with questions about the earthquake and the strange events in the desert. The boys dodge their suspicions as best they can. But unbeknownst to them, something larger is stirring. All across the planet, more Minicons begin to awaken, their signals pulsing faintly beneath the Earth's surface. The race to find them has begun, and neither side intends to lose. Episode 4, Comrade. At A base, the Autobots detect a new Minicon panel activation. Sure Shock and Alexis quickly get to work analyzing the signal, pinpointing its location near the Grand Canyon, though Carlos excitedly insists on calling it Big Canyon. With the coordinates locked in, the team prepares for their first coordinated field mission. Rad, Carlos, and Alexis suit up in bright Autobot-issued jumpsuits, ready to step fully into their new roles. The kids board Optimus Prime, and together with the Autobots and their Minicon partners, they warp to the site. Upon arrival, the team splits up to cover more ground. Carlos pairs with Red Alert, Alexis joins Hotshot, and Optimus Prime escorts the Minicons. Rad is left behind momentarily, but is soon picked up by Alexis and Highwire. The desert landscape is vast and rugged, and tensions are high as the team fans out across the canyon floor. It's Laserbeak who finally spots the Minicon panel, half buried and fused into a rock wall deep within the canyon. But just as the team converges on the location, the Decepticons teleport in. Demolisher immediately charges at Red Alert, while Cyclonus pins down Hotshot in a tight trap. Optimus Prime is quickly confronted by Megatron himself, and the two leaders clash with raw force. Empowered by his bonded Minicon, Megatron gains the upper hand and delivers a brutal blow that wounds Optimus. For a moment, it appears as if Optimus might fall. But just as Megatron moves in for the final strike, the three Minicons, Highwire, Sure Shock, and Grindor, combine to form Perceptor, a towering Minicon combiner. With unexpected power and agility, Perceptor intercepts Megatron and fends off both him and Starscream, buying the Autobots precious time. At the same moment, the buried panel activates, releasing a new Minicon. Its emergence shifts the balance in the Autobots' favor as it immediately joins their ranks. With the Decepticons retreating and the new Minicon secured, Optimus gathers the team for their return to base. Episode 5, Soldier. Tensions are running high at the Autobot base. Hotshot's easygoing attitude and playful interactions with the human kids and Minicons are beginning to grate on Red Alert, who remains focused and disciplined. During a game of tag, Hotshot easily outruns Carlos, showing off in the process. Red Alert sees it as a distraction, one that compromises mission readiness, and calls him out for being careless. The clash between personalities intensifies until Optimus Prime steps in, reminding both Autobots of the value in Red Alert's caution and discipline, shaped by countless battles fought back on Cybertron. The mood quickly shifts when alarms blare through the base. Another Minicon panel has been detected. This time, the signal originates from one of the most unforgiving places on Earth, Antarctica. Without delay, the Autobots and their human allies warp to the icy landscape, arriving in a blinding snowstorm. But the extreme cold proves too much for even Optimus Prime, whose internal systems begin to seize up. Red Alert immediately moves to assist, carefully repairing and stabilizing Optimus in the bitter chill. Impatient and eager to act, Hotshot decides not to wait. He departs with Carlos and Minicon partner Jolt to begin the search on their own. Unbeknownst to them, the Decepticons, monitoring Minicon signals from their stronghold on the moon, have also locked onto the activation. Megatron dispatches Starscream, Cyclonus, and Demolishor, who soon teleport to Earth. Starscream reaches the signal first, uncovering the Minicon panel lodged deep in an ice wall. Hotshot intercepts him, leading to a fierce confrontation. During the skirmish, a sudden collapse sends massive ice formations crashing down. Carlos narrowly escapes being crushed, saved at the last second by Jolt, who swoops in and lifts him to safety. Hotshot quickly recovers and slams into Starscream in vehicle mode, knocking the Decepticon off his feet. But the fight escalates as Cyclonus and Demolisher arrive, overwhelming Hotshot. Just as things spiral out of control, Red Alert appears. With precision and timing, he deploys a grappling cable that yanks Cyclonus off balance, and then follows up with a tactical disc attack that disorients both Megatron and Demolishor. Optimus soon joins the battle, evening the odds and forcing the Decepticons into a retreat. In the final clash, Starscream manages to snatch the Minicon panel, but Red Alert intercepts him mid-air and tosses the panel out of reach. Starscream fires a desperate shot and loses his footing, plummeting into a deep ice chasm. The Autobots reclaim the panel, which activates to reveal Jetstorm, the first member of the powerful air defense team. His arrival marks a turning point in the search for the Star Saber. Back at the base, the mood softens. Hotshot and Red Alert, once at odds, begin to find common ground. Red Alert acknowledges Hotshot's courage and instincts, while Optimus reinforces that victory won't come from power alone. It will take skill, discipline, and above all, teamwork to win the race for the Minicons.
Incredible power! Behold the now laser cannon!
Episode 6, Jungle. Frustrated and bitter, Starscream voices his resentment after witnessing the Decepticons falter in a simulated battle. Convinced he's been repeatedly sidelined, he demands a Minicon of his own, insisting he could prove his worth if granted more power. His ambitions are brushed aside, fueling a determination to seize any chance that might come his way. Meanwhile, a new Minicon signal is detected, this time deep within a dense, uncharted forest. Determined to reach it before the Decepticons, the Autobots mobilize. Optimus Prime leads a small team, Hotshot, Red Alert, and their human allies, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis, into the jungle. The terrain proves difficult. Tangled foliage and uneven ground slow their progress. As the group pushes deeper into the forest, the Decepticons launch a flanking assault. In the chaos, Hotshot, trying to outmaneuver Starscream, miscalculates and accidentally ignites a brush fire. Flames quickly spread through the dry undergrowth, endangering everyone nearby. The Autobots and the children spring into action, coordinating efforts to contain the blaze. Red Alert, ever the voice of caution, chastises Hotshot for his recklessness, stressing the importance of respecting Earth's fragile ecosystem. The moment underscores a growing theme among the Autobots, the responsibility they hold not just in war, but as visitors to another world. Amid the confusion, Demolisher stumbles upon the activated Minicon panel, perched high atop a massive ancient tree hidden within the forest's depths. Back at the Decepticon camp, Starscream makes a final plea to Megatron to assign him a Minicon. But Megatron, still unimpressed, flatly refuses. Undeterred, Starscream sees his opportunity in the disorder and seizes it. With fierce determination, he retrieves the panel himself and activates it, partnering with a new Minicon whom he names Swindle. The pairing unlocks his long-sought potential. Armed with a powerful null ray cannon, Starscream turns on both Autobots and Decepticons, unleashing a destructive barrage that shakes the battlefield. His newfound strength rattles the balance of power. Even Megatron, observing the spectacle, remains cold and unimpressed by Starscream's self-congratulatory display. Rather than challenge him outright, Megatron orders a retreat, leaving Starscream to savor his triumph alone. As smoke rises from the still smoldering forest, the Autobots regroup, shaken but undeterred. The episode ends on a sobering note. Starscream, standing tall amid the embers, finally feels the surge of power and recognition he's long craved. With Swindle at his side and his arsenal expanded, he vows to stake his claim, not just as a soldier, but as a force to be reckoned with. Back at the edge of the burned forest, the Autobots reflect quietly. They've managed to contain the fire and safeguard the humans, but the cost is clear. Starscream has taken a major step forward, and the stakes have changed. The battle for the Minicons, and for control, has grown more unpredictable than ever.
A giant metalhead!
Excuse me, not interrupting anything, am I?
Episode 7, Carnival. With no new Minicon activity on the radar, boredom sets in for Rad White and Carlos Lopez at the Autobot base. Eager for a break from the monotony, the boys hatch a spontaneous plan for fun. Enlisting Highwire and Grindor, though they mistakenly refer to the latter as Sure Shock, they sneak off to a nearby town carnival, hoping for a bit of excitement. The atmosphere at the fair is festive and carefree, and it isn't long before the rest of the Street Action Minicon team, Sparkplug, Longarm, and Jolt, join in. Choosing to appear in their true robotic forms, the Minicons quickly become the unexpected stars of the show, drawing curious stares and delighted reactions from the carnival crowd. For a moment, the fairground feels like a whimsical blur of humans and robots blending seamlessly. But the fun takes a turn when two local kids, Fred and Billy, spot Jolt transforming. Intrigued and eager to investigate, they give chase, causing a ruckus as they barrel through games and rides. Their pursuit leads them high above the fair, onto a large tethered balloon, creating a precarious and dangerous situation. Hotshot arrives on the scene just in time, accompanied by Jolt. Acting swiftly, they combine Jolt's abilities with an air cannon to execute a clever rescue, ensuring both kids return safely to the ground. The situation is diffused without injury, but it's a clear reminder that even innocent fun can spiral out of control when humans and Cybertronians mix in public. Meanwhile, Alexis steps into a supervisory role, rounding up Rad, Carlos, Fred, and Billy with no-nonsense energy. Her calm leadership keeps the group from getting into further trouble, acting as a steady presence amid the chaos. As the sun sets and the fair winds down, the Autobots and Minicons quietly withdraw, leaving behind a crowd still buzzing with wonder. Fred and Billy, wide-eyed and awestruck, promise to keep the day's bizarre events a secret, at least for now, giving the series a much-needed light episode. Episode 8, Palace. A new Minicon activation signal draws Optimus Prime and his team to the vast expanse of the Sahara Desert. Accompanied by Rad, Carlos, Alexis, and the Street Action Minicon team, the Autobots venture into the unforgiving landscape. However, the searing heat and ever-shifting sands make progress slow and difficult. Even in vehicle mode, the Autobots struggle for traction, their heavy frames sinking into the dunes. As the team presses on, danger strikes. Demolisher, concealed beneath the sand, launches a surprise attack. His sudden assault destabilizes the terrain, triggering a collapse that swallows both him and the three children. The Autobots, caught off guard, scramble to locate them from the surface, unable to follow without risking further cave-ins. Below ground, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis awaken in a dark, ancient cavern, part of what appears to be a buried palace. Intricate carvings line the walls, and a faintly glowing Minicon symbol pulses overhead. Though unnerved by the strange echoing halls, the kids push forward in search of the signal's source. Their exploration is cut short when mechanical spider-like guardians with piercing red eyes spring to life, closing in with alarming speed. Help arrives from an unexpected source. Though originally an aggressor, Demolisher inadvertently draws the spider creature's attention away from the children. Whether intentional or not, his intervention gives the kids a chance to escape. They push deeper into the ruins, eventually entering a massive throne room. There, at the heart of the crumbling palace, they discover the activated Minicon panel. Tensions spike as Demolisher arrives moments later. The fragile truce dissolves as he moves to claim the Minicon for himself. Before anyone can act, the ancient palace reacts. Statues begin firing beams of energy, and the ceiling begins to collapse. In the chaos, the Street Action Minicons combine into Perceptor, using their unified form to shield Rad and Carlos from falling debris. The effort allows the children to escape with minor injuries as the palace caves in around them. Demolisher emerges first, triumphant and clutching the newly claimed Minicon Bone Crusher. As the Autobots continue searching from above, Hotshot finally dives into the pit to retrieve Perceptor and the children, ensuring their safe return. Now, on the surface and armed with Bone Crusher, Demolisher activates his new partner. His firepower is immediately enhanced, and he unleashes a destructive barrage that forces the Autobots into a defensive stance. With Decepticon reinforcements closing in and their objectives secured, Megatron orders a tactical withdrawal, signaling the end of the confrontation. Back at the Autobot side, the team regroups, shaken but relieved to have rescued the children and recovered Perceptor intact. Though the Minicon has fallen into enemy hands, everyone is safe, for now. Far away on the moon, tension brews within Decepticon ranks. Demolisher presents Bone Crusher to Megatron, only to be met with cold fury. Despite his effort, Demolisher is harshly ordered to surrender the Minicon, which he does, reluctantly. Watching from the sidelines, Starscream silently notes the mistreatment, his expression darkening as doubts begin to simmer beneath the surface.
It's better than I expected. Not only do I have the Minicon, but I have hostages.
Episode 9. Confrontation. Tensions escalate when Cyclonus stages a sudden ambush on Rad and the others, capturing Fred and Billy during an unguarded moment. Using them as leverage, Cyclonus delivers a chilling ultimatum. Surrender all Minicons, or the hostages won't be returned. The message sends a wave of urgency through the Autobot ranks. Optimus Prime, alongside Hotshot and Red Alert, quickly mobilizes. With the safety of the children at stake, they track the Decepticons to a remote, abandoned mining town, the designated location for the exchange. Dust and silence hang in the air as the Autobots arrive, prepared for a negotiation but wary of deception. Megatron greets them with calculated calm, turning the standoff into a twisted power play. He paints the Autobots as aggressors and demands their unconditional surrender of the Minicons. Determined to prioritize the hostages' lives, Optimus reluctantly agrees, offering up several Minicon partners in good faith. But the moment the transfer is made, the situation unravels. Megatron, true to form, breaks his word. He refuses to release Fred and Billy, revealing the exchange as a trap all along. The betrayal triggers an intense skirmish in the heart of the dusty ghost town. Weapons fire lights up the shadows as the Autobots engage their enemies, fighting to reclaim both their Minicons and their young allies. In the thick of battle, Hotshot rises to the challenge. Pushing through enemy lines, he charges toward Megatron and lands a powerful blow, knocking the Warlord off balance. The strike forces Megatron to release his grip on the hostages and most of the Minicons, though Rad remains in Decepticon custody for the time being. The fight surges on, chaos all around. Amid the confusion, Fred spots Laserbeak trapped nearby. In a quick moment of courage, he frees the robotic bird, who immediately springs into action. Laserbeak's distraction draws Megatron's attention long enough for Hotshot to deliver another critical hit. With Megatron staggered and his forces momentarily disrupted, the Autobots regain control of the situation. Optimus Prime and his team act fast, securing Fred and Billy and reuniting them with the other children. Relief sets in as the group pulls back from the edge of disaster. Fred and Billy, shaken but safe, meet the Autobots face to face for the first time, finally understanding the scale of the conflict they've been drawn into. Though the Autobots have recovered their Minicons, and the majority of the children, the mood remains sober. The close call weighs heavily on the team. The Decepticons had nearly succeeded, not just in seizing the Minicons, but in weaponizing the Autobots' compassion. As the dust settles over the battered mining town, the episode ends on a tense note. Rad remains with the Decepticons, his fate uncertain. The Autobots regroup, their resolve strengthened, but their vulnerability exposed. It's clear now that the stakes are rising, and the Decepticons will stop at nothing to gain the upper hand. Episode 10. Underground. A different Minicon signal is detected, this time from beneath a densely populated urban neighborhood. The Autobots, led by Optimus Prime, quickly mobilize, navigating city streets and service tunnels to reach the source. Not far behind, the Decepticons launch their own operation, aiming to claim the Minicon before their rivals. With tensions high, both factions descend into the labyrinthine depths of the city's old subway system. Meanwhile, Rad, Carlos, Alexis, and their loyal street-action Minicons take a more discreet approach, slipping into the abandoned transit network on foot. The tunnels are dark and filled with decay. Forgotten platforms, rusted tracks, and broken signs paint a picture of a world left behind. As the group explores, they stumble upon the source of the signal, a Minicon panel wedged into a ceiling grate like a hidden vault. With teamwork and effort, the kids manage to dislodge the panel and bring it down, hopeful that they've secured another Minicon for the Autobots. But their celebration is short-lived. A growing unease settles over them. They sense they're not alone. Mechanical echoes follow their steps, and they soon realize Decepticon Minicons are tracking them. Forced to flee, they retreat deeper into the tunnels, eventually finding themselves in a vast, forgotten cavern beneath the city. The tension builds as the enemy closes in. Desperate, they deploy Laserbeak to call for help, hoping the Autobots will reach them in time. Just when it seems all is lost, an unexpected savior arrives. Out of the shadows emerges Smokescreen, a long missing Autobot warrior, presumed lost in battle. Without hesitation, he engages the Decepticon pursuers, holding them off with fierce determination. His arrival turns the tide, giving the kids and their Minicons a fighting chance. But the victory is short-lived. The cavern begins to collapse around them, and a rain of debris buries Smokescreen, the children, and the Minicons. Above ground, Optimus and the other Autobots break through to the surface tunnels, only to find no trace of the kids. With the Minicon panel in hand, Cyclonus orders the Decepticons to retreat, claiming victory. For a tense moment, it seems the mission has ended in tragedy. Then, unexpectedly, movement stirs beneath the rubble. Smokescreen emerges first, helping Rad, Carlos, Alexis, and the Minicons crawl out behind him. Covered in dust and bruised but alive, they're welcomed with relief and joy by the Autobots. Smokescreen officially rejoins the team, greeted with admiration for his bravery and perfect timing. As the dust settles and the group regains its footing, a sense of accomplishment fills the air, yet the celebration is short-lived. Rad picks up a strange new Minicon signal on his tracker. Unlike before, this one comes with an image, a mysterious blonde girl, unfamiliar to the team. The signal's direction? Underwater. The episode closes on this quiet but intriguing note as the Autobots prepare for yet another journey, this time into the depths of the ocean, reminded that the path ahead is filled with more secrets, surprises, and battles to come.
Is that the scent of a Minicon I smell?
Episode 11, Ruin. While Red Alert busies himself fine-tuning Optimus Prime's trailer, Carlos bursts in with urgency, eager to revisit a puzzling message they'd received earlier. The mysterious transmission features a holographic girl, her tone filled with warning. As the message replays, Alexis voices her concern, convinced the girl is calling for help. Carlos agrees, pressing the matter. But before they can investigate further, Hotshot cuts in with an announcement. They've pinpointed a new Minicon signal, and it's coming from the middle of the ocean. Optimus, Hotshot, Red Alert, Smokescreen, and the children prepare for departure. Warping to the signal's location, the team arrives on open waters. Outfitted with aquatic upgrades, the Autobots dive beneath the waves, plunging toward the ocean floor. Carlos, still focused on the mysterious girl, dives in eagerly, hoping to find her. Instead, he and the others find themselves swept up in a discovery far beyond what they expected. Resting beneath the surface is a vast, submerged city. Its crumbling architecture and elaborate stonework echo the long-lost myth of Atlantis. Murals and statues line the passageways, depicting scenes of ancient power and conflict. As the group explores, it becomes clear this civilization once harnessed a mysterious energy, orichalcum, through the minicons. Though awe-inspiring, the sight carries an ominous weight, its silence hinting at a forgotten catastrophe. Before they can delve deeper, the Decepticons arrive. Megatron leads Starscream, Cyclonus, and Demolishor in a sudden ambush, determined to seize the minicon buried in the ruins. With orders to scatter and secure the panel, the Decepticons fan out, forcing the Autobots into a defensive scramble. The children, separated in the confusion, uncover a hidden chamber. There, a projection of a long-lost inhabitant named Amphitrite activates. Amphitrite, speaking through the hologram, shares the history of her people. She reveals that the city's fall came not from external enemies, but from within. The power of orichalcum-enhanced minicons once brought prosperity, but eventually bred greed, mistrust, and war. Her civilization, consumed by its lust for control, was swallowed by the sea. She pleads with the children to walk away from their quest before history repeats itself. Haunted by her words, the children struggle with what they've learned. But above, the battle escalates. Megatron's forces press forward, ignoring the crumbling ruins around them. The Autobots fight back with everything they have, prioritizing the children's safety as debris begins to rain down and ancient structures collapse. In the end, the Autobots manage to pull their team out just in time. The ruins fall further into ruin, and the minicon remains out of reach, for now. As the group resurfaces and regroups, the weight of Amphitrite's warning lingers heavily in the air. The children, once excited by the thrill of discovery, are now deeply shaken. What once seemed like a simple quest for minicons has become something far more complicated and dangerous. Beneath the sea, they didn't just uncover ancient history. They uncovered a warning about power, conflict, and consequences.
For that Autobot gun. I'll stop him!
Episode 12, Prehistory. The day begins in high gear as the Autobots, Optimus Prime, Hotshot, Red Alert, and Smokescreen, along with Rad, Carlos, and Alexis, evacuate their Earth base via Warp Gate. Their destination is a remote tropical island marked by dense jungle and the looming presence of an active volcano. Though stunning at first glance, the beauty of the island quickly gives way to danger. The team sets out to track a newly activated minicon signal, but nature proves just as volatile as their enemies. Volcanic tremors rumble beneath their feet, sending ash plumes into the sky and triggering small lava flows that carve through the landscape. The terrain becomes unstable by the minute, forcing the Autobots to move quickly while keeping the children safe. They aren't alone for long. The Decepticons arrive in full force, Megatron leading Starscream, Cyclonus, and Demolisher in a coordinated assault. The battle erupts as violently as the volcano itself. Amid rivers of molten rock and crumbling cliffs, both factions struggle for control of the minicon panel hidden within the island's unstable core. The Autobots hold the line, but the odds are steep. As the volcano intensifies, rock arches collapse. Geysers of lava shoot skyward, and thick ash clouds obscure visibility. Demolisher makes a daring move, charging directly at the Autobots in an attempt to seize the minicon panel. Hotshot and Red Alert spring into action, shielding the children and defending the artifact with precision teamwork. Meanwhile, Smokescreen uses his wits and heavy firepower to create diversions, pulling enemy attention away from the more vulnerable members of the group. Optimus Prime engages Megatron head-on, their clash echoing over the roar of volcanic fury. Every blow between them seems to shake the island itself. But the real threat isn't just the enemy, it's the island. Lava fractures the terrain, carving canyons in seconds. Ash rains down like snow, and the volcano's roars drown out commands and cries alike. It becomes clear that the environment is collapsing faster than either side can adapt. Recognizing the mounting danger, Optimus orders a full retreat. The Autobots launch into a desperate escape sequence, navigating crumbling rock bridges and dodging jets of lava, all while still under Decepticon fire. The children cling close, barely keeping pace as the team races to reach the warp gate before the island is consumed. Eventually, the Autobots succeed, narrowly. They escape with the minicon panel intact, but not without scars. Behind them, The island buckles and collapses under the force of the eruption, sinking into a sea of molten rock and smoke. The battle is won, but only just. Back on stable ground, the team takes a moment to breathe. The children, visibly shaken, begin to process just how close they came to disaster. The ferocity of the volcano and the Decepticons' relentlessness leave an impression that lingers. More than ever, Rad, Carlos and Alexis begin to question what exactly the Minicons are, and what ancient powers they might be waking up. Episode 13, Swoop. High above the Earth, Cyclonus patrols the skies with a clear mission: find the Autobots' hidden base. With Sonar's tracking abilities guiding him, Cyclonus closes in on their location, inching Megatron one step closer to completing the legendary Star Saber. Once he confirms the base's position, he discreetly contacts Decepticon headquarters. Without delay, Megatron opens a warp gate, dispatching his forces, including Sonar, into the Autobot stronghold. Inside the base, things seem calm. Rad, Carlos and Alexis are busy giving Billy and Fred a light-hearted tour, introducing them to the world of the Autobots. But the mood shifts instantly when the base alarms begin to wail. The core team rushes to the command center, while Billy and Fred, unfamiliar with the base's layout, continue wandering on their own, unknowingly heading toward danger. Optimus issues a warning: Decepticon forces are warping in. Red Alert immediately activates the base's internal defense systems, a network of countermeasures Hotshot had helped design. However, in the chaos, the system locks onto all intruders, including Billy and Fred. Caught in the middle of the crossfire, the two boys quickly find themselves trapped and terrified. Alexis spots them on a monitor and intervenes, convincing Optimus to temporarily disable the defense grid before the automated systems cause harm. With the threat to the children neutralized, the Autobots shift their focus back to the real danger. Hotshot takes the lead in confronting the invaders, but is swiftly overpowered by Megatron, who tosses him aside with ease. Amid the chaos, Smokescreen activates a gas release that disorients the Decepticons. Using the confusion to their advantage, the Autobots regroup and begin setting traps throughout the base's narrow corridors. The tide begins to turn. Smokescreen ensnares Demolisher with an energy lasso. Red Alert tricks Starscream into a hall of mirrored panels, disorienting him. And with quick thinking and teamwork, the kids use the base's teleportation system to launch Cyclonus through a warp gate, sending him hurtling into a distant snowy mountain range. Meanwhile, in the command center, Megatron confronts Optimus and Hotshot directly, demanding the Star Saber. Tension spikes as Sonar awakens the final Minicon components, completing the weapon. Megatron grabs the newly formed Star Saber, prepared to end the battle on his terms. But just as victory seems assured, Optimus strikes, blasting the sword from Megatron's grasp and sending it flying into Hotshot's hands. With Rad's encouragement fueling his resolve, Hotshot grips the Star Saber and rises. In a dazzling show of newfound power, he counters Megatron's assault and lands a decisive blow, slicing off one of the Decepticon leader's horns. Wounded and humiliated, Megatron calls for retreat, his forces scattered and defeated. As calm returns, the Autobots regroup. Billy and Fred are reunited with their friends, shaken but unharmed. The base, though damaged, stands secure. Optimus commends Hotshot for his bravery and allows him to retain the Star Saber, marking a turning point in his growth as a warrior.
Hey, what was that?
Episode 14, Overmatch. Under the silver glow of a moonlit sky, the Decepticons mobilize in a rugged mountain range, determined to secure another Minicon. Starscream scales the cliffs toward a concealed stasis panel, but before he can reach it, Hotshot intercepts him, wielding the formidable Star Saber. Their clash is swift and fierce. The saber slices through Starscream's sword, sending a shard tumbling down the slope, where it crashes into Cyclonus and sends him sprawling. As Smokescreen approaches from below, Demolisher charges in on Megatron's command, only for Optimus Prime to descend from above, slamming into the Decepticon leader and separating him from the battle. With Megatron pinned, Demolisher is left to face Hotshot alone. The Autobot proves too strong, disarming him in moments. Realizing the battle is slipping from his grasp, Megatron calls for a retreat. As the Decepticons fall back, Smokescreen uncovers the newly awakened Minicon, Liftor, now bonded to the Autobots. Optimus warns Hotshot against letting victory swell his ego. Unseen by either side, a cloaked figure observes the entire battle from a distant ridge, silent and watchful. Back at Autobot headquarters, a lighter moment unfolds. Rad, Carlos and Alexis discover their refrigerator inexplicably stuffed with tools instead of food. In the scramble to fix the mix-up, Alexis heads out to restock supplies, only to mistakenly pick up bleach and degreaser, hazardous to their Minicon Sure Shock. Upon her return, Red Alert expresses concern for the team's safety and offers the kids a small upgrade, an improved version of Laserbeak to help monitor future outings. At the Decepticon base, the mood is far grimmer. Their troops lick their wounds from the recent clash. The silence is broken by the arrival of the cloaked stranger, who reveals himself as Scavenger, a gruff, seasoned mercenary with little patience for weakness. He wastes no time berating Starscream and the others, stoking resentment among the Decepticon ranks. Despite the friction, Megatron accepts Scavenger's offer to assist in recovering the Star Saber from Hotshot. Soon after, another confrontation unfolds. Hotshot faces Starscream once more, and while he manages to destroy his opponent's sword, the battle costs him dearly. Starscream's final slash leaves a deep gash across his face. Just as Hotshot appears to seize victory, Scavenger steps in, revealing himself as more than just an observer. He effortlessly counters Hotshot's attacks, even with the Star Saber embedded in his arm. With brutal force, he floors the young Autobot, forcing him to admit defeat. Megatron moves to claim the saber, but Optimus intervenes before he can take it. Amid the chaos, Cyclonus retrieves the Minicon panel and escapes with Lifter in tow, securing at least one small victory for the Decepticons. Far from Earth, on the barren surface of the moon, Scavenger debriefs Megatron. He shares the legend of the Skyboom shield, a weapon powerful enough to challenge the Star Saber. His laughter echoes through the base, signaling the dawn of a new phase in the escalating war for Minicon supremacy. Episode 15, Gale. From the space, a mysterious purple motorcycle rider descends toward Earth, landing on an unfinished stretch of highway just outside the big city. Meanwhile, inside Autobot HQ, Hotshot hones his skills with the Star Saber, proudly showing off for Billy and Fred. Carlos, ever the realist, tempers their excitement, reminding them that one powerful weapon doesn't make Hotshot invincible. The moment is cut short when Red Alert detects a new Minicon signal, this time located in a freeway tunnel at Grid Sector 29365. Without delay, the Autobots roll out with the human kids tagging along. Upon arrival, they find Demolisher and Cyclonus guarding the tunnel entrance. Deep inside, Starscream and Megatron supervise Scavenger's excavation of the buried Minicon panel. To stall the Autobots, Cyclonus triggers a traffic jam, forcing a truck to block the route. Hotshot quickly transforms, racing past the obstruction with help from his Minicon partner, Jolt. He drops off Rad and Carlos, setting the stage for the next clash. As tensions rise, the enigmatic motorcyclist briefly grabs Billy, only to let him go unharmed a moment later. He then meets Rad, sparking a moment of unexpected calm in the chaos. That stillness is short-lived. Cyclonus, flying overhead, is abruptly knocked out of the sky by the rider's daring aerial move. Back in the tunnel, Hotshot engages Scavenger in a fierce one-on-one duel. Cyclonus attempts a sneak attack from behind, but fails. Amid the chaos, Billy's sudden cry of distress forces Hotshot to break off and regroup with Rad and the others. With Billy safe, Hotshot returns to the battle on the skeletal highway. In a bold move, he leaps into the air and slices through a section of road, sending Scavenger plunging into the depths below. Cyclonus manages to swoop in and catch him just in time. Although Scavenger retreats, he's far from defeated, mocking Hotshot and vowing to prove him unworthy in battles to come. With the dust settling, the motorcycle rider makes his move. Transforming before the Autobots, he introduces himself as Sideways. Though his timely intervention helped turn the tide, His sudden appearance raises more questions than answers. Back at Autobot HQ, Smokescreen successfully locates and activates the Minicon panel, freeing Spiral. As everyone settles in, Sideways casually bonds with Billy and Fred. Yet not all are convinced. Hotshot and Red Alert remain wary. Sideways may have aided them, but where his true loyalties lie remains a mystery. Episode 16, Credulus. Amid a fierce clash over a newly detected Minicon, Hotshot and Sideways push ahead, claiming to have found the panel first. Strangely, the Decepticons, Starscream, Cyclonus, and Demolisher, suddenly pull back, seemingly spooked by the sheer force of the Star Saber in Hotshot's grasp. While Optimus Prime and Smokescreen continue their search elsewhere, Megatron makes a surprise entrance and seizes the Minicon panel from right under their noses. In a daring move, Sideways grabs onto Megatron as he initiates a warp jump. Hotshot activates his hyperdrive and latches onto Sideways, unintentionally getting pulled along. The three vanish in a flash of energy, transported to the Decepticon moon base by Megatron's warp pulse. From afar, Scavenger watches the incident unfold, calling it an unexpected twist. On the moon, Megatron attempts to activate the Minicon, only to discover it's a decoy. Furious, he crushes the fake panel in his claws. It's then that Sideways reveals, through a flashback, that the entire setup was part of a calculated plan to infiltrate the Decepticon base from within. Before long, Cyclonus and Demolisher find Hotshot and Sideways. Megatron orders them to be brought in. The two Autobots are cornered in a corridor, then forced outside, where the shocking truth is revealed: the Decepticon base is indeed located on the moon. Surrounded by deceptive holograms, including a projected image of Optimus Prime, Sideways urges Hotshot to stay sharp. The pair splits up to take down the illusions, dismantling the trap piece by piece. Megatron watches with rising interest and issues a challenge. Whoever defeats Hotshot and takes the Star Saber will earn the right to wield it. Hotshot fights fiercely, managing to disable Cyclonus's rotor and knock Demolisher to the ground. But Starscream gains the upper hand, and just when it seems the Autobots might still prevail, Megatron reveals a cruel twist. Sideways has been captured. He demands the Star Saber in exchange for his life. Reluctantly, Hotshot surrenders the weapon. In a gut-wrenching moment, Sideways flips his allegiance, literally switching his faction symbol, and hands the Star Saber to Starscream. The betrayal hits Hotshot hard. Stunned and emotionally broken, he collapses. As Cyclonus and Demolisher strike him while he's down, Starscream revels in his newfound power. It takes Scavenger stepping in to put a stop to the abuse. Back at Autobot HQ, the tension is palpable. The Autobots and their human friends anxiously await news. When Hotshot finally returns, battered and unconscious, Red Alert rushes to his aid, initiating emergency repairs. Elsewhere, Starscream basks in triumph, brandishing the Star Saber and declaring himself the mightiest warrior in the universe. Megatron, watching the celebration unfold from afar, seethes with rage and smashes his monitor. In the shadows, Sideways watches and laughs. His betrayal complete, but his true motives still veiled. The stage is set for deeper treachery and shifting allegiances as the battle for Minicon power intensifies. Episode 17, Conspiracy. In a fog-shrouded valley, the Autobots once again bite the dust. With the Star Saber now under Megatron's command, the Decepticons grow stronger by the day. But all is not well within their ranks. Tension simmers as Starscream's growing arrogance grates on the others. His constant boasting stirs resentment, and Megatron begins to question whether allowing Starscream to wield the Star Saber is a mistake. A heated internal debate unfolds. Who truly deserves the weapon? And who can be trusted with such power? Elsewhere, the human trio pilots Laserbeak through the haze, tracking a newly activated Minicon signal. At the same time, Demolisher's Minicon picks up the same reading, putting both sides on a collision course. As the two factions converge, the quiet valley erupts into chaos. To level the playing field, Optimus Prime activates his super mode, charging into the fray with renewed force. On another front, Hotshot and Sideways engage in a high-speed chase, each vying for control of the Minicon panel. Remembering a lesson from Scavenger about precision over aggression, Hotshot finds an edge and manages to outmaneuver his rival. As the battle intensifies, Scavenger suddenly claims the Minicon panel. Before anyone can stop him, he transmits a signal, ordering a full Decepticon withdrawal. Confusion follows as the Decepticons vanish from the battlefield. Back at their moon base, the recovered Minicon reacts unexpectedly. It resonates with another yellow panel, indicating a connection to something far more powerful. The implications are clear. A larger force is beginning to awaken. Then comes the shocking twist. Scavenger, long thought to be a loyal Decepticon, breaks his silence. He reveals that his allegiance has always been with the Autobots, that his time with Megatron's forces was part of a carefully orchestrated infiltration. His sudden betrayal isn't a change of heart. It's the fulfillment of a secret mission. Scavenger arrives at Autobot HQ under Optimus Prime's orders. The team watches in stunned silence as the supposed traitor is welcomed inside. When he shakes Optimus's hand, the truth becomes undeniable. He was never truly Decepticon. He was a spy deep behind enemy lines, biding his time until the moment was right to tip the scales. Episode 18, Trust. The human trio enjoys a brief, light-hearted moment, joking about skipping breakfast as they watch Hotshot train under Scavenger's intense supervision. Curious, Alexis invites the others to join her for a closer look, only to find Scavenger fast asleep. The sight raises a wave of doubt, especially for Carlos, who begins to question whether Scavenger's loyalties are truly with the Autobots. Smokescreen's cautious demeanor seems to echo those concerns. The uneasy mood is interrupted when Minicon detection alarms flare. A new signal has surfaced, pulling both factions into the frozen wilderness for a high-stakes confrontation. Across the snow-blanketed hills, Megatron and Starscream lead the Decepticons into battle, deploying Cyclonus, power-linked with Drillbit and Sideways. The Autobots respond with Hotshot, Smokescreen, and Scavenger by their side. The battle quickly escalates, with both sides fighting fiercely across the icy terrain. As energy blasts echo across the hills, Scavenger pulls off a bold aerial maneuver, overpowering Cyclonus in mid-air. He seems poised to secure a decisive blow until he abruptly disappears. His sudden vanishing act shakes Hotshot's confidence, leaving him with more questions than answers. Elsewhere, near the edge of a deep chasm, Optimus Prime and Megatron close in on each other. As the ice beneath them gives way, Optimus ejects his lower half, catching Megatron in a desperate bid to stop both from plummeting. It appears Optimus is ready to sacrifice himself, until, in a dramatic return, Scavenger reappears and hurls Optimus to safety. The timing is too perfect to be a coincidence. Moments later, Sideways and Megatron attempt a coordinated strike on Scavenger, but Optimus steps in and shields him, forcing the Decepticons into retreat. The tide of battle turns not because of brute force, but because of earned trust. Back at HQ, Optimus addresses the team and the human kids. He confirms what had long been hidden. Scavenger was never truly aligned with the Decepticons. His time among them was part of a covert intelligence mission, one that required secrecy and sacrifice. His loyalty, forged on Cybertron, had never wavered. Red Alert reinforces the lesson, explaining that espionage isn't betrayal when it serves the greater good. Humbled, both Smokescreen and Hotshot apologize to Scavenger, who accepts with quiet grace. Though neither side secures the Minicon, the Autobots gain something more valuable: renewed unity. As the sun sets on the snowy battlefield, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis reflect on the events of the day. They've learned something essential. Trust isn't given blindly. It's earned through action, resilience, and time, even when heroes walk in silence. Episode 19, Vacation. Rad, Carlos, Billy, and Fred set off on a long-awaited camping trip, eager for a break from the ongoing Autobot-Decepticon conflict. They're joined by Smokescreen, Red Alert, and their minicon partners, trusted companions, now ready to swap battlefields for fishing rods and campfires. It's a rare chance to relax, bond, and simply enjoy being kids again. Back at the Autobot base, Alexis discovers the command center is deserted. Frustrated and feeling excluded, she learns the others have quietly gone off on their trip. As she cools off, Alexis realizes she never shared her weather report with the group. Rain is in the forecast, and it's not looking light. Elsewhere, Channel 4 weather reporter Kelly Baumgartner prepares to record her segment by the river, only to be interrupted by a mischievous child named Sean, who catches her off guard with a prank. Nearby, the Autobots and kids are making the most of their riverside retreat. Smokescreen jokes with the boys as they fish and splash around, while he and Red Alert share a rare, quiet moment, reflecting on how even warriors need rest. Laughter fills the air as the group enjoys the tranquil setting. The Autobots watch over the children with a relaxed ease not often afforded in their line of duty. For once, peace doesn't feel temporary, but the calm doesn't last. Dark clouds roll in. Kelly, still in the area with her cameraman, notices the storm worsening and drives towards Stevenson Dam. Along the way, they spot the group still at the riverbank. Rain begins to pour in sheets, lightning slicing through the sky. With concern rising, local parents start calling the children back to safety. Kelly reports live from the scene, warning that the dam's floodgates may be forced open if the storm intensifies, a possibility Alexis had seen coming. Suddenly, disaster strikes. A violent mudslide crashes down the slope near the river, burying Carlos, Red Alert, and Sean under a mass of debris. Panic ripples through the group. Back at the base, Alexis watches the unfolding events in horror as Kelly's live feed captures the moment. She realizes too late how critical her missed weather warning was. Optimus Prime quickly dispatches reinforcements. Hotshot, Scavenger, and other Autobots race to the scene, working urgently against worsening conditions. Sirens wail in the background as the situation turns critical. Beneath the mud, Red Alert shields Sean, while Carlos tries to keep him calm, both drawing on their strength to reassure the frightened boy. Above ground, the rescue efforts intensify. Laserbeak swoops in, startling Kelly mid-broadcast and causing her to drop her camera. Alexis, glued to the feed, catches a glimpse of the dam's gates opening. The river begins to swell. The episode unfolds as a tense battle, not between good and evil, but against nature itself. With no Decepticons in sight, the danger is raw and real. The Autobots and their human allies are forced to confront forces beyond their control. What begins as a quiet escape transforms into a desperate rescue, one defined by courage, teamwork, and the power of quick action in the face of looming disaster. Episode 20, Reinforcement. Scavenger returns to the Autobot base with news of a powerful new ally, Blur. His arrival is swift and silent, introduced just as a new minicon panel is detected at a human raceway. Without delay, the Autobots spring into action, racing to the site as the children, Rad, Carlos, Alexis, Fred, and Billy, watch events unfold from the command center. On the racetrack, the Decepticons strike first. Demolisher claws the minicon panel from the ground, only for Blur to blast onto the scene in a blur of speed and precision. With little effort, he knocks the panel free and claims the minicon incinerator for the Autobots. It's an impressive debut, but not a warm one. The kids are eager to meet their new teammate, but Blur's demeanor is cold and detached. He brushes off their attempts at friendliness and pays little attention to the street action team minicons, who approach him with curiosity. When Hotshot walks in, Blur immediately shuts down further interaction, storming off without a word. Hotshot tries to get through to him, challenging his attitude, but Blur insists personality has no place in combat. Soon another signal draws their attention. A third minicon, Downshift, has activated, this time on a canyon racetrack. The Decepticons are already moving, and Optimus dispatches Blur and Hotshot to intercept. The two speed across the course in pursuit of the fast-moving minicon, dodging debris and weaving through sharp turns in a high-stakes chase. Meanwhile, Smokescreen and his minicon partner Liftor take on Sideways, Starscream, and Cyclonus to keep them from interfering. The battle is tight, with energy blasts and shifting terrain pushing everyone to their limits. Blur executes a signature spinning maneuver that sends Cyclonus flying, but it also sends Downshift hurtling into the grandstands. Frustrated, Blur begins firing recklessly at the Minicon, trying to corral it. Hotshot steps in just in time, catching Downshift mid-flight, but their teamwork falters. Cyclonus swoops in and snatches Downshift away before the Autobots can react. With their prize secured, the Decepticons warp out, leaving the Autobots to regroup in defeat. Back at base, the mood is tense. The children call out Hotshot for his constant friction with Blur, urging him to make peace. Hotshot takes it to heart and apologizes sincerely. Blur, to everyone's surprise, admits he may have been wrong. He had seen the Minicons as little more than equipment, tools for battle, but watching the team's concern and unity changed his perspective. Blur still doesn't have all the right words, but he manages to express appreciation for the team's patience. He and Hotshot exchange a simple fist bump, a gesture of mutual respect. Slowly, Blur begins to understand that being an Autobot isn't just about firepower, it's also about connection. On the moon, Megatron's forces return in triumph. With Downshift now in their grasp, the remaining Minicons, Dirt Boss and Mirage, awaken. Together they combine to form the Skyboom Shield, a powerful defensive weapon the Decepticons have long pursued. The balance of power shifts once more as the Autobots brace for what's to come. Episode 21. Decisive battle. With both the Star Saber and the Skyboom Shield in his possession, Megatron issues a bold, public challenge to Optimus Prime and the Autobots. He declares it will be their final battle, the end of their long conflict over Minicon power. At the Autobot base, the atmosphere is cautiously upbeat. Tension lingers, but the team finds brief relief in a friendly competition. Hotshot and Blur square off in a light-hearted training exercise, darting through obstacles and racing for flags. Smokescreen eventually joins the match, and though the contest is playful, its undertone is clear. Teamwork and readiness will soon be tested. When the moment arrives, Optimus accepts Megatron's challenge. The Autobots teleport to a stark battlefield where Megatron stands alone, radiating confidence. He has sent his forces to the sidelines, determined to prove the strength of his weaponized power. As the Autobots strike, Megatron effortlessly deflects every attack. The Skyboom Shield glows as it absorbs energy blasts, and with one swift strike, the Star Saber shatters Optimus's rifle. The Decepticons don't remain idle for long. Cyclonus and Demolishor open fire on the scattered Autobots, forcing them apart. With Optimus isolated, Megatron charges into close combat, aiming to end things with brute force. Hotshot and Blur break from formation to aid their leader, dodging enemy fire as they rush forward. Starscream and Cyclonus close in from above, attempting to cut them off. In response, Smokescreen links with Liftdoor, launching a bold counterattack to disrupt the aerial assault. Smokescreen's quick thinking proves decisive. He not only fends off the Decepticons, but also briefly shields sideways, catching even his teammates off guard. Yet his bravery comes at a cost. He ends up pinned beneath a massive boulder during the chaos. Even in a moment of triumph, the battle exacts a toll. As the fight narrows to Optimus and Megatron once again, the terrain becomes treacherous. Locked in a brutal struggle near a rocky crevice, Megatron lunges with the Star Saber, but in the scuffle, the Skyboom Shield slips from his grasp and disappears into the abyss below. Optimus braces for the final blow. Then, unexpectedly, Sparkplug leaps forward. The tiny Minicon acts without hesitation. In a burst of energy, the Skyboom Shield re-emerges from the darkness, activating mid-air to intercept Megatron's attack. The Star Saber clashes with the rising shield, and the collision unleashes a blinding beam of light, pure, radiant, and strangely familiar. It echoes the energy that once awakened the Minicons, though this moment feels deeper, more profound. Staggered and stunned, Megatron falls back. Without the shield, and rattled by the surge of unexpected power, he orders a retreat. The Decepticons vanish, leaving the Autobots to regroup. Smokescreen is pulled free, greeted with cheers for his fearless support. Optimus, bruised but standing, thanks his team. Relief and quiet celebration follow as the Autobots absorb what just happened. Not just the victory, but the mystery of the light that intervened. As calm returns, Rad's voice closes the episode. Gazing toward the stars, he reflects on the strange energy unleashed in the clash. Whatever its purpose, it has only just begun to reveal itself.
Boss, coming through.
Episode 22, Vow. Rad, Carlos, Fred, Alexis and Billy get themselves unexpectedly locked out of the Autobot base. Frustration builds, especially when Optimus explains that the situation is simply too dangerous to risk letting them in. Despite their past involvement, the kids are now sidelined, kept at arm's length as the conflict intensifies. Meanwhile on the moon, Megatron initiates a bold new strategy, power linking with Dualor, Buzzsaw, Backtrack, Oval, and Leader 1. He activates a powerful full blast mode. Using this new configuration, he launches simulated attacks designed to bait the Autobots into a carefully constructed trap. It's a calculated effort to confuse and destabilize the opposition, and it's working. Back on Earth, the Autobots gather for a strategy session. Smokescreen readies his long-arm launcher to deploy the Skyboom shield, while Optimus remains firm. The human kids must stay out of harm's way. But the children are not convinced. Fred and Rad, in particular, believe that the Decepticon-controlled Minicons are not truly loyal to Megatron. They're convinced that given the chance, these Minicons would break free and side with the Autobots. Their suspicions gain weight when the street-action Minicons pick up a mysterious signal. One they claim is a message from the Decepticon-aligned Minicons. Eager to help, Rad and Fred try to convince the Autobots, but when that fails, they contact Laserbeak directly and take matters into their own hands. Ignoring warnings, the boys run toward the warp gate and are instantly teleported straight into Megatron's waiting grasp. Unbeknownst to them, they've stepped into a trap. Megatron intends to exploit their presence to fracture the Autobot team's morale. As Optimus and a small group of Autobots try to locate them, they are all pulled through a series of surreal, shifting environments. Dense forests, frozen wastelands, and eerily deserted towns. Each landscape is a carefully staged battlefield designed to confuse and isolate. Throughout it all, Megatron watches from afar, mocking their efforts. He pressures the brainwashed Minicons to fire on the group, forcing a confrontation. Optimus faces the Minicons head-on, refusing to strike first, while Rad and Fred plead for them to resist Megatron's control. The tension breaks when the Minicons hesitate, then lower their weapons altogether. Megatron, furious at their defiance, charges in himself, but before he can strike, the rest of the Autobots arrive just in time with the Skyboom shield. Optimus stands firm, emboldened by the trust of the children and the courage of the Minicon. With a powerful counterattack, the tide turns. The Minicons fully reject Megatron's control, and he is forced to retreat once again. In the aftermath, the Autobots regroup and tend to their wounded. Optimus undergoes repairs, reflecting on what they've just witnessed. The raw energy unleashed in the earlier clash of the Star Saber and Skyboom shield wasn't merely destructive, it was a cry for freedom from the Minicons themselves. The revelation reshapes the Autobots' mission. It's no longer just about winning battles or collecting weapons. Their true goal becomes clear: to liberate every Minicon still trapped in servitude, and they will need to stand united. Autobots, Minicons, and even their human allies to see that mission through. Rebellion. Set entirely on the moon, this episode offers a rare Decepticon-only perspective. The spotlight turns inward, revealing cracks in the Decepticon hierarchy. After a string of high-profile defeats, quiet dissatisfaction begins to ripple through the ranks, and Megatron's authority, once unquestioned, starts to waver. Sideways is quick to exploit the shifting atmosphere. Ever the manipulator, he identifies Starscream as the ideal target for his schemes. Proud, ambitious, and increasingly disillusioned, Starscream becomes receptive to Sideways' whispered suggestions. One thought, planted carefully: perhaps Megatron's leadership is no longer serving their cause. From there, the seed of rebellion begins to take root. Around them, the Decepticon base is anything but united. Cyclonus dozes noisily in the background, oblivious to the tension. Demolisher and others sense that something is amiss, watching the growing friction with unease. Yet no one openly speaks out. The instability is quiet, coiled, and simmering. As the episode unfolds, Sideways deepens his manipulation. He casts Megatron not as a commander, but as a liability, someone whose obsession with power and repeated failures are dragging the Decepticons down. Through subtle cues and carefully timed conversations, he positions himself as the one who understands what real leadership could look like, all while nudging Starscream toward a fateful decision. Though Starscream never acts on his brewing ambition in this episode, the shift is clear. He begins to question his place in the command structure and what role he might play in reshaping it. Sideways steps back into the shadows, content to let doubt do the rest. Megatron, for his part, remains largely unaware, or perhaps deliberately indifferent. He senses the tension, but whether out of arrogance or confidence, chooses not to confront it head-on. By the end, it's clear that the Decepticons are far from unified. Beneath their mechanical exterior lies a faction on the edge of fracture, driven by ego, resentment, and the intoxicating scent of power. The episode closes with a lingering sense of unease. Loyalty among Decepticons is fragile, and the next betrayal may be closer than Megatron realizes. Tactician Thrust. A new ally enters the scene. A calculated and enigmatic strategist with a reputation for never losing. His arrival shakes the Decepticon ranks, bringing a sharp edge of discipline and a promise of victory. Calm and composed, Thrust wastes no time, immediately drawing up a tactical plan to trap the Autobots. His methods differ from brute force. He prefers precision, deception, and terrain advantage. The Decepticons rally around his confidence, ready to execute his first major assault. Meanwhile, at Autobot headquarters, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis find themselves part of another dramatic shift. From the skies comes Jetfire, bold, fast, and unmistakably powerful. His arrival on Earth is nothing short of explosive, and the Autobots quickly realize they've gained a formidable ally. Jetfire's presence energizes the team, giving them a much-needed morale boost amid growing Decepticon threats. Thrust's plan is simple but effective. He chooses a narrow gully, a terrain that limits movement and favors aerial attackers. The Decepticons bait the Autobots, luring them into the confined space under the guise of a routine minicon signal. Once inside, Thrust springs the trap. Flying Decepticons descend from above, boxing in the Autobots with calculated precision. The confined environment prevents escape or transformation, and Optimus Prime's team quickly finds itself on the defensive. As the battle intensifies, the tide begins to turn against the Autobots. Thrust's strategy proves effective until Jetfire arrives. With a deafening roar, he rockets into the battlefield, blasting through the skies and raining energy bolts down on the Decepticons. His intervention is swift and overwhelming. The trap collapses. Decepticons scatter under his assault, and the tide of battle abruptly shifts. Megatron, recognizing the turning point, calls off the attack and retreats, his plans in disarray. Thrust, unshaken on the surface, quietly recalculates. His first move may have failed, but he remains a figure of intrigue and danger. Megatron, while disappointed, acknowledges Thrust's potential and the fact that the Autobots are now far stronger than before. Back at base, Jetfire is welcomed into the fold. His firepower and aerial skill offer a critical advantage, and Optimus Prime knows this addition may change the course of the war. The Autobots regroup with renewed determination, aware that their enemies will adapt quickly. As the episode closes, both sides reassess. For the Autobots, Jetfire's arrival is a victory in itself. For the Decepticons, Thrust is still a wild card, his next move unknown, his mind always working. The battle may be over, but the war is only escalating. Link up. With Optimus Prime still recuperating from the last battle wounds, command of the Autobots temporarily passes to Jetfire. Charismatic and confident, Jetfire steps up quickly, but his brash and boastful style doesn't sit well with the rest of the team. Intent on proving himself, he charges ahead with little caution, eager to showcase his abilities. But his overconfidence becomes a liability. Unbeknownst to Jetfire, Thrust and Megatron have been watching closely, anticipating his aggressive nature. They craft a precise ambush, exploiting Jetfire's impulsiveness. Lured into a false sense of advantage, Jetfire suddenly finds himself surrounded by Decepticons, cut off from his team and heavily outgunned. As the Autobots scramble to respond, they too come under intense fire. Pinned down and outmaneuvered, the situation begins to spiral. Without their true leader, and with Jetfire caught off guard, morale falters. The trap is working. until a familiar figure re-enters the field. Against the advice of his team, and despite his injuries, Optimus Prime rises. Refusing to watch from the sidelines while his team suffers, he pushes through his pain and charges into battle. His arrival is both commanding and symbolic. He may be weakened, but his determination hasn't faded. Optimus's sudden reappearance catches the Decepticons off guard. His precise strikes disrupt their formation and breathe new energy into the Autobots. Jetfire, shaken but still standing, regains his footing. He fights alongside Optimus, not ahead of him, learning in the moment what true leadership requires. Together, the Autobots rally. With coordination restored and morale lifted, they press back against the Decepticons and force a retreat. The battle is won, but not without cost. In the aftermath, Jetfire reflects on his mistakes. The experience humbles him, opening the door for a shift in how he leads. He begins to understand that strength alone doesn't make a leader. Trust, timing, and unity do. Optimus, though weary, recommits to protecting his team. His recovery is paused, but his resolve remains firm. The Decepticon threat still looms, and both he and Jetfire know the night is still long. Detection. At the Autobot base, a playful arm wrestling match unfolds between Smokescreen and Jetfire. Their exaggerated grunts and mock rivalry draw amused glances from Hotshot, Blur, and the human kids, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis, who cheer and banter from the sidelines. The mood is light, a brief respite from the ongoing conflict, but the levity is short-lived. Far away in the Decepticon war room, the atmosphere is far tenser. Thrust stands before Megatron, offering a rare apology for their recent failures. His tone, however, sharpens as he turns to the root cause: disunity within the Decepticon ranks. His blunt criticism hangs in the air, striking a chord with Megatron. Though Megatron's expression remains stoic, there's a glimmer of reflection, as if considering reforms he had long dismissed. Yet another matter weighs on him: Sideways. The enigmatic rogue's true allegiance has become an increasing concern. Back on Earth, the human kids trail behind Hotshot into Jetfire's quarters, their curiosity piqued. They find Jetfire immersed in reviewing battle footage, his optics narrowing in focus. As he rewinds a specific clip, the group watches in uneasy silence. The footage reveals Sideways covertly firing on Cyclonus, a move that raises more than eyebrows. The kids, Jetfire and Hotshot, exchange glances, the realization dawning. Could Sideways be a Decepticon double agent, or is he playing an even deeper game? Meanwhile, in the Decepticon camp, Sideways is already at work sowing discord. He approaches Demolisher, skillfully stoking his frustrations against Thrust. Sideways' manipulation is subtle but effective, his words planting seeds of doubt. Yet, as whispers of betrayal spread, suspicion turns back towards Sideways himself. The other Decepticons, growing restless and wary, confront him. Caught off guard, Sideways attempts to retreat, but Thrust, determined to expose him, gives chase. Their confrontation erupts into a sudden clash, but just as Thrust closes in, Sideways undergoes a shocking transformation. His body distorts, flickering into a ghostly, static-laced form, intangible, yet eerily present. The Decepticons watch in stunned silence, as Megatron, unfazed, seizes the Star Saber and charges. He slashes through Sideways with brutal precision, but each blow is rendered futile as Sideways' spectral form regenerates instantly. Starscream, Cyclonus, and Demolisher open fire, but their attacks are equally ineffective. The barrage of gunfire seems to pass through Sideways, who floats mockingly above them. Megatron raises a hand, ordering them to cease fire. He isn't ready to let Sideways slip away under a haze of chaos. He wants to be the one to end it. Hovering in his ghostly form, Sideways taunts them with a cryptic message. More minicons remain to be found. And then, as suddenly as he appeared, he dissipates into nothingness, leaving only static in his wake. As the Decepticons stand in uneasy silence, a looming presence emerges in Earth's orbit. The colossal silhouette of Tidal Wave casts a dark shadow across the planet's atmosphere, a grim reminder that the conflict is far from over. Both Autobots and Decepticons sense it. The next battle is fast approaching. Awakening. Tidal Wave's arrival on the battlefield is nothing short of seismic. Towering above both Autobots and Decepticons, his sheer size and raw power bring the ongoing skirmish to an abrupt halt. The air grows thick with tension as soldiers on both sides realize the balance of power has shifted. For Megatron's forces, Tidal Wave is a game changer, a living war machine whose allegiance signals a dangerous escalation in the struggle for the Minicon weapons. As the battle teeters on the edge of collapse, Hotshot and Blur take the initiative. Recognizing that hesitation could spell disaster, the two Autobots launch a direct assault on Tidal Wave. It's a bold, near-suicidal move against an opponent of overwhelming might. Yet, through coordination and sheer determination, they manage to momentarily disrupt his advance. Their combined efforts don't defeat him, but they succeed in halting his momentum, buying precious time for the Autobots to regroup. Still, the shadow of Tidal Wave's presence looms heavily, a constant reminder of the threat that now towers above them. Alexis, monitoring signals back on Earth, detects the activation of 3 new Minicons. The significance isn't lost on her or the Autobots. These Minicons are unlike the others. They appear to be components of a powerful weapon system known as the Requiem Blaster. If assembled, the weapon could tip the scales dramatically in favor of whichever side claims it. Sideways' recent treachery casts a long shadow over this discovery. The timing feels too precise to be a coincidence, raising suspicions that Sideways has orchestrated the Minicon's appearance as part of a deeper, more sinister agenda. The race to secure them intensifies, transforming the battlefield into a frantic scramble. Autobots and Decepticons alike dash across war-torn terrain, driven by the urgency to claim the Minicons before the other side can harness their power. As the conflict rages, Hotshot finds himself thrust into a leadership role, his decisions now carrying weight beyond his usual battlefield tactics. With Tidal Wave's relentless presence bearing down and the Requiem Blaster looming as a potential turning point, the stakes have never been higher. Every choice he makes could determine not just victory or defeat, but the very future of the Autobot resistance. Though the episode ends without a decisive outcome, the stage is unmistakably set for the next chapter. Awakening pushes the narrative forward, escalating tensions and deepening the mystery of Sideways' true objective. The looming battle for the Requiem Blaster promises to be a critical clash, one that could reshape the war's trajectory entirely. Desperate, a tense standoff is underfoot as Tidal Wave towers over Optimus Prime on a battered beach. The Autobots unleash a barrage of firepower to cover their leader's retreat, but their attacks only provoke the towering Decepticon into a relentless counter-assault. Each step Tidal Wave takes sends shockwaves through the sand, forcing the Autobots to scramble for cover as their weapons barely scratch his armored hull. Not far from the battle, deep within the nearby caves, Rad, Carlos, and Alexis confront a different kind of threat. The newly discovered Minicon, Skyblast, lashes out in fear, his panic causing a dangerous chain reaction. High Wire quickly intervenes, rallying Grindor and Surshot as the street-action Minicons combine into Perceptor to contain Skyblast's outburst. But before the situation escalates further, Rad steps in, recognizing that Skyblast isn't aggressive, he's terrified. His calm approach and earnestness break through the Minicon's defenses, earning his trust in a moment of quiet amid the surrounding chaos. Back on the beach, Optimus and Hotshot scramble to organize a defense. Hotshot pulls back briefly to deploy the Skyboom shield, managing to intercept one of Tidal Wave's crushing blows just in time. Blur joins the fray, but is swiftly knocked aside by the Decepticon's overwhelming strength. Seizing a fleeting opening, Optimus launches himself into the air, landing a powerful kick to Tidal Wave's head that stuns the giant, though only for a moment. Megatron, ever watchful, escalates the battle by dispatching Demolisher and a squad of Minicons, tilting the momentum back in the Decepticons' favor. The Autobots are forced into a tactical retreat, navigating the narrow margins between survival and defeat. High above the battleground, Optimus finds himself intercepted mid-flight by Thrust, whose aggressive ambush further hampers the Autobot leader's attempts to rally his team. Meanwhile, the human kids regroup with Red Alert, devising a desperate plan to get Skyblast to the front line. Though initially paralyzed by fear, Skyblast begins to trust Rad and Red Alert's assurances. Their quiet promise of protection reignites his courage, and Skyblast leads them out of hiding, sensing his role in the battle is far from over. As the skirmish intensifies, Megatron and Tidal Wave initiate power links, merging into a formidable flying warrior. The battlefield grinds to a halt as the newly formed behemoth ascends, casting a long shadow over the Autobots below. With Optimus grounded and the Autobot forces pinned, Megatron raises the Starsaber, preparing to deliver the decisive blow. At that critical moment, Smokescreen hurls the Skyboom shield into the sky toward Optimus, a final act of defiance. Skyblast, summoning every ounce of bravery, plays a resonant musical signal. His call is answered as Payload and Astroscope emerge, drawn by the harmonic frequency. Together, they combine with Skyblast, forming the legendary Requiem Blaster. As Optimus plummets from the aerial clash, he commandeers the Requiem Blaster mid-fall, using its thrusters to slow his descent and land safely. The tide of battle shifts. In the aftermath, Rad reflects on Skyblast's fear, not of combat, but of power being misused. The real threat, he realizes, isn't the weapon itself, but the corruption it could bring if it falls into the wrong hands. With the Requiem Blaster now in Autobot possession, hope is rekindled, and Megatron's ambitions face a powerful new obstacle.
History, Optimus!
Runaway. Aboard the Decepticon base on the moon, the aftermath of defeat weighs heavily. Tidal Wave and Megatron, both visibly damaged from their clash with the Requiem Blaster, undergo extensive repairs. The battle may be over, but its consequences linger. Megatron's frustration simmers beneath the surface, his pride bruised as much as his armor. Thrust, ever the strategist, tries to soothe his commander's growing concerns about the Autobots' increasing strength. He reassures Megatron that with careful planning, they can still reclaim control. Yet, even Thrust knows the tide of the war is beginning to shift. Meanwhile, back at the Autobot base, a tense debate brews. The question isn't about weapons or tactics, but about ethics. The Space Minicon team, with their immense power, represents a potential turning point in the war. Jetfire and Hotshot argue passionately that their deployment could strike a decisive blow against the Decepticons. Optimus Prime, however, remains cautious. He understands the Minicons' reluctance to fight, recognizing that using their power comes with a moral cost. Before the Autobots can reach a consensus, the situation takes an unexpected turn. The Space Minicons vanish, and with them, the human kids. Rad, Carlos, Alexis, Billy, and Fred. Unbeknownst to the Autobots, the children have taken matters into their own hands. Determined to protect the Minicons from being dragged into the conflict, they secretly smuggle them out of the base. Their plan is simple but bold. Find a safe place where the Minicons can't be used as weapons by either side. The group's journey is a delicate game of cat and mouse. Boarding a public bus to Central City, they evade security measures with ingenuity, even slipping past canine units that sniff for metallic signatures. After disembarking in a remote cornfield, they trek to an abandoned farmhouse, their chosen refuge. There, the kids transform the rundown structure into a miniature fortress. Makeshift traps, alarms, and early warning systems are cobbled together from spare parts and whatever supplies they can find. It's far from perfect, but it's a sanctuary, at least for now. Their preparations are soon put to the test. Thrust, relentless and calculating, tracks them down. The traps spring into action, slowing his advance with a series of clever but improvised defenses. He's blinded by flour, tripped by wire snares, and even boxed into a collapsing structure. Though the traps can't defeat him, they buy the kids the precious time they need. Just as Thrust is about to seize the Minicons, Optimus Prime arrives, driving him off in a display of force that makes it clear the Autobots won't allow their allies to be taken so easily. In the quiet that follows, Rad steps forward. His words, heartfelt and impassioned, remind the Autobots of what's at stake, not just victory, but their principles. The Minicons are sentient beings, not tools to be wielded. Optimus, moved by the truth of Rad's message, reaffirms that the Autobots must stand by their ideals. Forcing the Minicons into combat would make them no better than the Decepticons. Their strength must come from choice, not coercion.
Wheeljack, you're still alive!
Surprised, Hotshot?
Episode 31, Past Part 1. The episode opens amid chaos. Hotshot struggles beneath burning wreckage, frantically trying to free Wheeljack's legs as flames rage around them. Smoke fills the air and the heat is suffocating, but Hotshot refuses to give up. Wheeljack, pinned and injured, pleads with him not to risk further harm, urging him to escape. Torn between loyalty and survival, Hotshot makes a split-second decision. He flees to get help, leaving Wheeljack trapped as the fire intensifies. In the distance, Megatron's imposing figure enters the inferno, disappearing into the smoke as Hotshot's choice becomes a haunting memory. Meanwhile, a new arrival bursts onto the scene. Sideswipe, fresh from Cybertron, lands on Earth with boundless enthusiasm and an eagerness to prove himself. He seeks out Blur, idolizing him as a legendary Autobot warrior. Blur, ever the stoic professional, barely acknowledges him, claiming he doesn't recognize the young recruit. Sideswipe's antics escalate as he attempts increasingly outlandish gestures to get Blur's attention, including standing upside down and calling out loudly, much to everyone's amusement. Optimus Prime, observing Sideswipe's enthusiasm, makes a decisive call. Hotshot will mentor him. Though surprised, Hotshot agrees, understanding the responsibility that comes with guiding a younger Autobot. At the shooting range, Sideswipe's raw potential becomes evident. He obliterates the target with sheer force, but his lack of precision and slow transformation highlight his inexperience. Hotshot, ever candid, offers advice that cuts through the surface. He recognizes that Sideswipe's fixation on Blur is holding him back. To grow, Sideswipe must carve his own path instead of trying to mirror someone else. Elsewhere, Fred and Billy provide comic relief, immersed in their video game commentary, while Alexis looks on in disapproval, her patience wearing thin as their antics echo through the Autobot base. As rain begins to fall, Hotshot and Sideswipe find a quiet moment by a lakeside. The atmosphere shifts, becoming more reflective. Sideswipe confides his admiration for Blur's unwavering dedication, seeking a model to follow. Hotshot encourages him to set realistic goals, emphasizing growth through experience, not imitation. Their bond begins to form, mentorship tempered with honesty. However, their quiet is short-lived. A mysterious black car trails their movements, shadowing them from a distance. On a stretch of highway, the car closes in aggressively. Suddenly, Wheeljack appears, launching a surprise attack. Using illusions or holograms, he sends Sideswipe tumbling off a cliff, incapacitating him momentarily. Confronting Hotshot directly, Wheeljack reveals his defaced Autobot insignia, a stark symbol of his betrayal. As Sideswipe urgently power linkses with his Minicon, Nightbeat, to recover and accelerate back into action, Hotshot's heart sinks. He recognizes Wheeljack not just as a foe, but as his former mentee, one whose loyalty has been twisted under Megatron's influence. The confrontation reaches a chilling climax. Wheeljack, weapon raised, locks eyes with Hotshot. The screen cuts to black as the blaster fires, ending the episode on a tense cliffhanger. The personal conflict between mentor and former student is now inevitable, setting the stage for a deeply emotional Part 2.
Start heating things up down there.
Hey, Sideswipe! Can you hear me?
Episode 32, Past Part 2. Episode 32 opens in the immediate aftermath of Wheeljack's attack. Hotshot, gravely injured, awakens in the Autobot infirmary, his body battered and his mind weighed down by guilt. Sideswipe, visibly relieved, remains by his side, having rescued him from the ambush and brought him back to base. As Hotshot struggles to recover, his thoughts drift to the past, replaying a painful memory that refuses to fade. In a haunting flashback, he relives the fateful mission on Cybertron, where Wheeljack was left trapped under burning debris. His desperate attempt to seek help had come too late, and Megatron's intervention sealed Wheeljack's fate. The guilt of that moment clings to Hotshot, festering as he wonders if he failed his friend when it mattered most. Elsewhere in the base, Optimus Prime quietly reflects on his decision to assign Hotshot to the Earth mission. He had chosen Hotshot not in spite of his past mistake, but because of it, believing that the loss of Wheeljack could teach him to become a wiser, more compassionate leader. Sideswipe, ever the earnest protege, tries to help Hotshot see that forgiveness, especially of oneself, is sometimes harder to achieve than forgiveness from others. But whether Wheeljack forgives him or not, Hotshot has to find a way forward. Refusing to remain sidelined, Hotshot sneaks out of the infirmary, driven by the need to confront the past head-on. He tracks Wheeljack to an abandoned industrial site, where tensions reach a boiling point. Wheeljack, now fully aligned with the Decepticons, confirms his betrayal with a cruel sense of satisfaction, mocking Hotshot for his past mistakes. Hotshot, overwhelmed with anger and guilt, initially refuses to fight, offering himself up in a futile attempt at reconciliation. But Wheeljack isn't seeking redemption. He ignites an arsonist trap, chaining Sideswipe atop a burning oil tank to mirror the very betrayal he believes Hotshot committed years ago. The flames roar higher as Wheeljack taunts him, forcing Hotshot to relive his worst failure. This time, however, Hotshot refuses to abandon his comrade. Pushing through the blaze, he navigates the collapsing structure to free Sideswipe, their shared determination forging a bond of trust amidst the inferno. Together they escape mere moments before the facility erupts in a towering explosion. As the smoke clears, Wheeljack appears aboard the Decepticon base on the moon, standing beside Megatron. His formal pledge of loyalty to the Decepticons marks his transformation complete, any trace of his old allegiance seemingly erased. Back at Autobot headquarters, the tone softens. Sideswipe, brimming with renewed admiration, declares himself like family to Hotshot, his exuberant energy lightening the mood as he chases his mentor playfully through the corridors. Meanwhile, the human kids share a moment of humor, teasing Alexis over how she's become oddly invested in Billy and Fred's video game antics, a light-hearted reminder of the day's lessons. Amid themes of loyalty, forgiveness, and the forging of new bonds, the Autobots move forward, scarred but not broken.
Getting warmed up.
Smokescreen!
Episode 33, Sacrifice. Thrust, Megatron's calculating tactician, arrives on Earth with a devious master plan. By using Starscream as bait, he aims to lure the Autobots away from their headquarters, giving the Decepticons an opening to infiltrate the A-base and seize the Minicons needed to assemble the fearsome Requiem blaster. It's a scheme designed to strike at both the Autobots' trust and their tactical defenses. At the Autobot base, Hotshot and Sideswipe are in the middle of a training exercise when alarms suddenly blare. Decepticon activity has been detected nearby. Rushing to the scene, they find a surprising sight: Starscream, seemingly on the run, being relentlessly pursued by Tidal Wave. Despite their deep-seated mistrust of Starscream, the Autobots hesitate. It's the human allies, Alexis and the children, who urge Optimus Prime to give him a chance. With some reluctance, Optimus agrees. Starscream is given a provisional alliance, offering his knowledge to aid in a daring assault on the Decepticons' lunar base to rescue the captured Minicons. Back at base, tensions remain high. Hotshot's lingering resentment towards Starscream flares into open conflict. The argument is abruptly interrupted by a figure long thought lost: Smokescreen. Though his body had fallen in battle, his spark endured. Rebuilt in a new, sturdier form, Smokescreen steps in to halt the fighting. His presence is a sobering reminder of the bigger picture. Personal grudges have no place in a war where unity is survival. The Autobots manage to put aside their differences just as the scope of Thrust's plan becomes clear. The Decepticons, following Thrust's strategy, infiltrate the Autobot base to seize the Requiem blaster's components. Meanwhile, Starscream leads the Autobots through the labyrinthine defenses of the Decepticon lunar stronghold, navigating the very traps he once helped design. During the ensuing chaos, Smokescreen plays a pivotal role. With the Autobots spread thin, he makes a lone, desperate stand to buy his comrades precious time. The cost is brutal. Mortally wounded, Smokescreen's sacrifice becomes the turning point that allows Starscream and the others to reclaim both the Star Saber and Skyboom shield before the Decepticons can consolidate their power. When the battle ends, the victory feels hollow. The Autobots return to the A-base, burdened by the weight of Smokescreen's loss. His spark will live on, rebuilt once more in a new body as Hoist. But the cost of war is not so easily repaired. The team gathers in solemn reflection, honoring their fallen comrade, not just for his bravery, but for the unity his sacrifice inspired. The reclaimed weapons may shift the balance of power, but the Autobots are keenly aware of the price paid for them. In the quiet aftermath, amid the wreckage of battle and the hum of reconstruction, the Autobots understand that the war for Cybertron's future will demand more than firepower. It will demand trust, sacrifice, and the courage to stand together, even in the face of betrayal. Episode 34, Regeneration. After Smokescreen's devastating injury, a somber mood settles over the Autobot base. The battle may have been won, but the cost weighs heavily. Red Alert brings a glimmer of hope. Smokescreen's spark still flickers, but reconstructing him is a delicate process. One misstep could extinguish him forever. Despite the risk, the Autobots quietly hold on to the belief that their comrade may one day stand among them again. Far from this solemn hope, Starscream staggers back to the Decepticon base, his body battered, his pride seething. He confronts Thrust and Megatron, furious over their betrayal, furious that they abandoned him, shutting the warp gate and leaving him to face the Autobots alone. But his anger turns to something colder when he overhears them plotting. To Megatron, he is nothing more than a pawn, useful, expendable, and ultimately disposable. That realization shatters whatever loyalty Starscream had left. In a surge of rage, he brandishes the Star Saber and lashes out, cutting down several Decepticons in a defiant stand. His rebellion is brief, but it sends a message. With no illusions remaining, Starscream storms out, leaving Megatron to watch his departure with cold indifference. Back on Earth, life at A-Base presses on. Hotshot and Sideswipe resume training, though their movements are heavy, distracted by recent losses. Suddenly, alarms blare through the base. Decepticon activity has been detected. The two Autobots race out, expecting a familiar skirmish, but are instead met with a startling sight. Starscream, again being relentlessly pursued by Tidal Wave. Despite his misgivings, Hotshot doesn't hesitate. He charges into battle, locking horns with Tidal Wave, while Sideswipe veers off to pursue the injured Starscream. But even with their combined effort, Tidal Wave's sheer strength overwhelms them. Optimus Prime and Jetfire arrive just in time, combining into Jet Convoy to even the odds. Yet even their combined might strains against Tidal Wave's armored power. Amid the chaos, Starscream makes a choice. He hurls the Star Saber to Optimus, giving Jet Convoy the edge needed to finally force Tidal Wave into retreat. The battle ends in a battered, breathless victory, but the larger conflict is far from over. In the aftermath, Starscream stands before the Autobots and offers his surrender. His request for asylum is met with cold skepticism, especially from Hotshot. But the human children, most of all Alexis, step forward, appealing to their Autobot friends for trust, for a chance at redemption. Optimus Prime, ever the pragmatist and idealist, grants Starscream temporary refuge, though wariness lingers. Later, in a quiet corner of the base, Hotshot challenges Starscream to a private duel, a clash not just of skill, but of pride and unresolved anger. The confrontation is tense, but it's broken by an unexpected arrival. Smokescreen, now reborn in a stronger form as Hoist, steps between them. His voice is calm but firm. He thanks Hotshot for his loyalty, but reminds them all that their fight is with the Decepticons, not each other. With Hoist's return, the Star Saber secured, and Starscream reluctantly accepted into their fold, the Autobots find themselves stronger yet more fragile. Unity is within reach, but trust will be a battle of its own.
Now you pay!
Episode 35, Rescue. The Autobots embark on a high-stakes mission to infiltrate the Decepticon moonbase and liberate the captive Minicons held under Megatron's control. With Starscream now in their ranks, albeit under cautious watch, his insider knowledge becomes vital. Led by Optimus Prime, Hotshot, and Jetfire, the Autobots approach the heavily fortified lunar facility using a stealth warp gate insertion, aiming to strike fast before the Decepticons can react. Inside the stronghold, the mission quickly turns into a brutal skirmish. Cyclonus and Demolishor engage the Autobots head-on, their relentless assault designed to stall and buy time for Megatron's reinforcements. The fighting is fierce and chaotic, with narrow corridors and layered defenses amplifying the danger at every turn. Amid the clash, the Autobot-affiliated Minicons infiltrate the base's inner chambers, where they uncover a disturbing truth. The captured Minicons are being forced into a far more ominous Decepticon project. While details remain scarce, the blueprints hint at the early stages of constructing a devastating weapon, something beyond anything the Autobots have faced before. As the battle rages on, Starscream and Hotshot find themselves reluctantly side by side. Their partnership is uneasy, fraught with mistrust, but necessity forces cooperation. Starscream's intimate knowledge of the base's security systems and hidden passages allows the Autobots to evade deadly traps, while Hotshot's bold, often reckless, assaults punch through enemy defenses. Though friction between them is palpable, their combined strengths begin to turn the tide. Optimus, ever the clear-eyed leader, pushes the team forward, emphasizing their primary objective, freeing the Minicons. Personal grievances are secondary to the mission's stakes. Reaching the holding chambers, the Autobots liberate the imprisoned Minicons, who respond with immediate resolve. Despite their ordeal, these Minicons rally, assisting their rescuers in combat and guiding them through concealed escape routes woven deep within the lunar facility. As alarms wail and Decepticon forces scramble to regain control, the facility descends into pandemonium. The Autobots, now bolstered by their Minicon allies, mount a fierce breakout. The final confrontation sees Optimus, Starscream, and the liberated Minicons battling their way toward the warp gate, every step contested by desperate Decepticon resistance. Megatron arrives too late, forced to watch as his captives slip through his grasp. The Autobots return to A-Base with the rescued Minicons, their victory tempered by the ominous revelations unearthed during the mission. The freed Minicons, though safe for now, speak of the Decepticons' project in hushed tones, their fragmented accounts painting a chilling picture of a weapon that could escalate the war to terrifying new heights. As the Autobots regroup, a tense atmosphere settles over the base. Starscream's allegiance remains a lingering question. His actions have earned a measure of gratitude, but suspicion lingers, especially from Hotshot. The Autobots have struck a critical blow, but the sense of unease is undeniable. The Decepticons' ambitions are far from thwarted, and the looming spectre of a grander, more devastating plan casts a long shadow over the battles yet to come.
What is this?
And now the moment we've all been waiting for.
Episode 36, Mars. The narrative shifts beyond Earth as Starscream and Jetfire navigate their Autobot shuttle through deep space, tracking a faint Minicon signal emanating from a remote asteroid. The mission is tense. Starscream, though temporarily aligned with the Autobots, still carries the heavy weight of distrust from his former enemies. Jetfire, in particular, remains wary. Their uneasy partnership fractures further when Starscream's defiant attitude sparks an argument. Jetfire, unwilling to tolerate insubordination on a critical mission, formally arrests him. The decision, backed by Optimus Prime, leaves Starscream cuffed and seething, his role in the mission reduced to that of a captive observer. But fate has other plans. As the shuttle draws closer to the asteroid's jagged surface, Starscream's sharp optics catch sight of their target, Firebot, the elusive Minicon they've been searching for. Despite the restraints, Starscream alerts Jetfire. Tension simmers as Jetfire, still bound by protocol, commands Starscream to retrieve Firebot. Before Starscream can act, a familiar shadow descends. Tidal wave strikes with overwhelming force, throwing the mission into chaos and cutting off their path to Firebot. The battle escalates rapidly. As Jetfire and Starscream attempt to mount a defense, Megatron and Thrust teleport onto the asteroid, their arrival tilting the balance dangerously in favor of the Decepticons. Pinned down and outmatched, Starscream turns to Firebot, urging him to activate his hidden weapon systems. Firebot, recognizing the dire stakes, powers up and joins the fray. His intervention halts tidal wave's advance, creating the narrow window needed for Starscream to break free of his restraints and reach him. Starscream's swift action in rescuing Firebot amidst the chaos doesn't go unnoticed. For the first time, Jetfire begins to see cracks in Starscream's hardened exterior. Though the air between them is still heavy with distrust, there's a flicker of respect, born from necessity and the battlefield. The confrontation reaches its climax as Jetfire, Starscream, and Firebot combine their energies in a desperate counterattack. Their united assault culminates in a radiant golden burst of Minicon power, a force so intense it knocks Tidal Wave and Thrust into retreat, and leaves even Megatron unconscious on the asteroid's surface. It's a hard-fought, costly victory, but it allows the trio to make a narrow escape back to their shuttle. Upon their return to Earth, the atmosphere at A-Base is different. Artemis, Alexis, Rad, and Carlos are there to greet them, their relief palpable. Alexis, in particular, acknowledges Starscream's heroism, expressing pride in his choice to protect Firebot, and hinting at the hope that he might one day truly stand with the Autobots. Starscream, ever aloof, brushes off the praise, insisting his only goal is Megatron's defeat. Yet his actions betray a subtle shift. Before storming off, he leaves behind a small peculiar Mars rock he had collected during the mission. For Alexis and the human kids, that stone becomes more than just a souvenir. It symbolizes a fragile but growing hope, that even the most hardened warrior can change, and that beneath Starscream's defiance, there may yet be a spark of something more.
For you? Why are you angry at me?
Episode 37, Crack. In the shadows, Sideways and Thrust hatch a scheme to reclaim the Minicon weapons, the Skyboom shield and the Star Saber, from Autobot hands. Their plan is simple but ruthless. Exploit lingering doubts, sow discord, and pull the weapons back into Decepticon control, tilting the balance of power once more. On Earth, however, Starscream finds himself increasingly frustrated with his new allies. As the Autobots, alongside the human kids, focus on constructing a spaceship, Starscream grows restless. He sees it as a waste of time, convinced they should be hunting Megatron directly. His impatience simmers into open complaint, sparking another quiet clash of perspectives. Optimus defends the Autobot way to hot shot, explaining that their strength comes not from rushing into battle, but from understanding and trusting each other. Values the Decepticons have long abandoned. Unbeknownst to Starscream, the human kids have been planning a surprise for him. To thank him for the Mars rock he gifted them, they organized a small party in his honor. They even present him with a handmade, colorful chamois, a gesture meant to help him keep the Star Saber polished. Starscream, caught off guard, admits with a rare vulnerability that he's never received a gift before. The gesture, though simple, strikes a chord, quietly unsettling his hardened exterior. Later, Jetfire assigns Starscream to monitoring duty, a task Starscream accepts with thinly veiled irritation. But duty is duty. During his shift, an unusual signal pings his sensors. Driven by instinct, Starscream leaves his post to investigate, unaware of the trap awaiting him. High in the clouded sky, he finds Thrust waiting. Ever the manipulator, Thrust dangles an offer of redemption, urging Starscream to return to Megatron's side, to deliver the Skyboom shield and reclaim his place among the Decepticons. It's a tempting lure, appealing to old loyalties and his current frustrations. Meanwhile, back at A-Base, Smokescreen discovers that the race Minicon team has vanished. These Minicons, who combined to form the race shield, were last seen speaking with Thrust. Fred and Billy, two of the human kids, recall Thrust's interest in them, raising alarms. Suspicion falls quickly onto Starscream. His sudden disappearance coincides too neatly with the theft. Hotshot, torn between his instincts and a gnawing sense of doubt, offers Starscream a chance to explain himself. But Starscream, disillusioned by what he perceives as inevitable betrayal, remains distant, convinced that the fragile experiment of Autobot trust has failed. As a Decepticon assault erupts, the Autobots launch into battle. Starscream, however, chooses a different path. Confronting Thrust in isolation, he faces a pivotal decision. With the Star Saber in hand and the chamois, a simple but sincere token from the humans, at his side, Starscream rejects Thrust's offer. For once, he chooses not allegiance to a faction, but loyalty to those who have shown him trust. At the same time, back at the base, Hotshot and the kids piece together the truth. They begin to understand that Starscream may not be the traitor they feared. His actions, though often abrasive, hint at a deeper struggle, a fight not just against Megatron, but against his own past.
What's wrong, Megatron, sir?
Episode 38, Threaten. The episode opens in the heavy silence of betrayal. At A-Base, the human kids, Rad, Alexis, Carlos, Fred, and Billy, are heartbroken and furious. Starscream's decision to surrender the Star Saber and Skyboom shield to Megatron feels like a cruel slap in the face. The weight of his betrayal is tangible. Fred, overcome with frustration, hurls his treasured Mars rock to the ground, his outburst a raw expression of hurt and disbelief. Alexis and Rad rush to calm him, but the mood is fractured. Off to the side, Hotshot quietly slips away, unable to face the swirling emotions of anger and disappointment consuming the base. On the moon, Megatron revels in his triumph. With the Minicon weapons in his grasp, his power consolidates further. He praises Starscream for delivering the Star Saber and Skyboom shield, though his tone is tinged with skepticism. Loyalty, Megatron knows, is a fragile currency. Thrust meticulously inspects the weapons to confirm their authenticity. Once satisfied, Megatron turns the Star Saber on Starscream himself, testing his resolve with a cold, mocking smile. After a tense moment, he dismisses Starscream, sending him to assist Thrust with the next phase of their ominous project. Within the Decepticon stronghold, activity hums as Demolishor, Cyclonus, and Wheeljack labor over the Decepticon ship, preparing for the coming offensive. The final pieces are falling into place. Back at A-Base, Hotshot channels his frustration into relentless target practice. The clang of metal echoes through the empty training ground, a soundtrack to his inner turmoil. Sideswipe watches with concern, while Jetfire, ever the level head, urges patience, understanding that Hotshot needs space to process the emotional blow. Elsewhere, Alexis tends to sure shock, her usual optimism dimmed. The Autobots gather to assess the situation, speculating grimly that the warp gate to the Decepticon base has been sealed. The urgency to retrieve the stolen weapons intensifies. Jetfire volunteers to pilot the soon-to-be-completed Autobot ship, though Optimus, still seething from Starscream's betrayal, chooses to remain at the base, his anger simmering beneath his composed exterior. Meanwhile, Thrust reveals to Starscream that the project is complete. The Star Saber, Skyboom shield, and Requiem blaster have been fused into a single devastating superweapon, the Hydra cannon. Megatron, eager to test its destructive power, orders a live demonstration in deep space, far from the moon's surface, to avoid collateral damage. The Decepticon warship launches, positioning itself near a passing comet. Under Megatron's command, Starscream is tasked with firing the Hydra cannon. With a conflicted heart, Starscream obeys. The weapon unleashes a blinding beam of raw energy, striking the comet and reducing it to a cloud of fiery debris. The explosion is so intense it lights up the sky, a glowing spectacle visible from Earth. At A-Base, the Autobots and human kids stare in stunned silence as the sky burns with the aftershock of the Hydra cannon's might. Sensors flare with alarms. Sideways, watching from a distance on the moon, chuckles quietly, satisfied with the chaos unfolding. Yet, in the cockpit of the Decepticon ship, Starscream is far from triumphant. The weight of his actions bears down on him. He had once sought Megatron's approval. Now he feels only regret. As the echoes of the explosion fade, Starscream wrestles with the growing realization that his choices have endangered not just his enemies, but the innocent lives of those who had once shown him kindness. Crisis. The sky over Earth shifts into an eerie green as Megatron powers up the Hydra cannon, the Decepticons' most devastating weapon, its core infused with the combined might of the Star Saber, Skyboom shield, and Requiem blaster. Panic ripples across A-Base. The human children watch in horror as the Decepticon warship looms in orbit, its shadow a silent threat of annihilation. The Autobots stand tense, aware that this time the cost could be Earth itself. Aboard the warship, Megatron basks in his imminent triumph, his arrogance only sharpening as he mocks Thrust's meticulous planning. Despite the mounting tension among his lieutenants, Megatron revels in his control. Outside, Jetfire leads a desperate assault on the ship, but the Decepticons' force fields hold strong, deflecting every attack with ease. At A-Base, the Autobots convene to devise a strategy. The stakes are clear. They must disable the warship without endangering the Minicons trapped within the Hydra cannon's core. The room fractures when Hotshot, his anger boiling over, lashes out, blaming Starscream's betrayal and, more painfully, questioning Optimus Prime's judgment for trusting him in the first place. Optimus, ever patient, allows Hotshot to vent, recognizing that words would do little to mend the raw emotions of the moment. Seeking clarity, Optimus retreats into solitude, contemplating the matrix of leadership resting within him. The ancient relic holds no easy answers, but it steels his resolve. Gathering the team once more, Optimus reveals a bold plan to intercept the Hydra cannon's blast. He offers the matrix to Hotshot, presenting a choice of leadership. Yet, Hotshot, burdened by doubt and grief, refuses, unable to step into Optimus's place. Meanwhile, aboard the Decepticon warship, Starscream wrestles with a storm of conflicting loyalties. The weapon he helped deliver is now aimed at the planet that had shown him an unexpected kindness. As the ship's shields flicker and drop momentarily, Starscream stands frozen, teetering on the edge of defiance. But the window is brief. Seizing the opportunity, Optimus and Jetfire launch their offensive. Megatron responds swiftly, dispatching Cyclonus, Demolisher, Wheeljack, and Tidal Wave to intercept. The clash is brutal, the outcome uncertain. Amid the chaos, Optimus charges forward, directly confronting Megatron in the heart of the ship. In a final, selfless act, Optimus unleashes the power of the Matrix, intercepting the Hydra cannon's massive energy blast. His body absorbs the weapon's fury, the sheer force of it stripping away his armor, bleaching his form to a ghostly white. For a moment, time seems suspended as Optimus channels the energy back into the Decepticon vessel. The blast dome around the ship shatters, dissipating into the void of space, but the cost is absolute. Optimus's form, now reduced to fragments of light and drifting spark particles, dissolves into the emptiness. His sacrifice echoes through friend and foe alike. The Autobots watch in stunned silence, their grief raw and immediate. Even Megatron, stripped of his triumph, can only stare in mute disbelief as his greatest adversary disappears before his eyes. Jetfire retrieves the remnants, the Matrix and Sparkplug, his expression a mask of grief. The Autobots retreat, carrying with them only fragments of their fallen leader. The battle is over, but the loss reverberates far deeper than any victory.
There's no future for any of us!
Remorse. In the shadow of Optimus Prime's ultimate sacrifice, shielding Earth from the devastating Hydra cannon blast, the Autobots gather in somber mourning. The Decepticons, by contrast, revel in their apparent victory. Cyclonus laughs with wild abandon, but not all share his glee. Megatron and Starscream remain subdued, their expressions marked more by regret than triumph. The cost of victory hangs heavily in the air. A week passes. Tension and grief linger within the Autobot base. The loss is raw and unspoken, yet palpable. Fred breaks down in open sobs, unable to contain his sorrow. Rad, quieter in his mourning, reflects on the weight of Optimus's sacrifice, an act of heroism that saved the planet, yet remains invisible to the vast majority of humanity. While the world moves on unaware, the Autobots are left to shoulder the burden. Hotshot, however, cannot accept passive grieving. His emotions simmer dangerously close to the surface, and frustration takes hold. He lashes out, angered by what he perceives as the others' inaction. Driven by a need for retribution, he confronts Jetfire at the teleport pad, demanding immediate pursuit of the Decepticons. But Jetfire insists their priority must be to repair their damaged spaceship. Hotshot refuses to listen. The very idea of staying grounded feels like a betrayal of Optimus's legacy. Scavenger, witnessing Hotshot's defiance, intervenes. With blunt authority, he knocks Hotshot to the ground and drags him away from the teleport pad, Jolt trailing behind. Hotshot's fury flares, but Scavenger doesn't relent. The mission, he reminds him, is bigger than revenge. First, they must finish what Optimus started. On an abandoned freeway, Scavenger escalates the confrontation. He throws Hotshot around, provoking him, demanding he fight back. At first, Hotshot resists, but when Scavenger invokes Optimus's name, the emotional dam breaks. Hotshot retaliates. The clash isn't about brute strength, it's a crucible. Scavenger pushes Hotshot to confront his anger and grief head-on, challenging him to remember what Optimus truly stood for: idealism, integrity, and compassion. Even Starscream had been given a chance to redeem himself, because Optimus believed in forging peace, not simply defeating enemies. Blur arrives, attempting to calm Hotshot, but his words fall flat. Hotshot, overwhelmed by guilt and sorrow, continues to flee, lost in his emotions. Yet his flight is short-lived. The Minicons, led by Sideswipe, form a makeshift barricade, standing resolutely in his path. Their quiet determination forces Hotshot to pause. In that moment, a memory surfaces. Optimus's voice, reminding him to trust his comrades, to lean on those who stand beside him. Realization dawns. Vengeance isn't their mission. Liberation is. With this clarity, Hotshot turns back. He apologizes, not just for his outburst, but for losing sight of what truly matters. His resolve reignited, and he committed to fighting alongside his team once more. Recognizing this growth, Jetfire appoints Hotshot as the temporary Autobot commander. Scavenger, ever the mentor, tests his readiness with a punch. This time, Hotshot stands his ground, earning Scavenger's respect. Though offered the matrix of leadership, Hotshot refuses to accept it permanently. He vows to lead only until they return to Cybertron, when Optimus's rightful successor can be chosen. United and invigorated, the Autobots and their Minicon allies rally once more. Their fight is far from over, but their purpose is clear: to stop the Decepticons and uphold the legacy Optimus left behind. Depart. The Autobots are preparing to leave Earth, ready to return to Cybertron and confront the Decepticons in the next phase of their battle. At the Autobot base, Hotshot stands before the gathered Minicons, announcing that they will soon depart aboard the Axelon. He gives each Minicon the choice to either join them on this mission home or remain behind on Earth, free to decide their own future. Watching from a distance are the human children: Rad, Carlos, Alexis, Billy, and Fred. Each hoping, silently yet eagerly, that they might be allowed to accompany their Autobot friends on this journey across the stars. Carlos, in particular, wrestles with hesitation. The enormity of leaving Earth weighs on him, but his determination to see Cybertron is stronger. Meanwhile, Rad has an encounter that shakes him to his core. As he contemplates his own decision, the Minicon High Wire approaches him and, against all expectations, speaks to him in fluent English. The message is simple yet cryptic. High Wire urges Rad to stay on Earth. The surrealness of the moment leaves Rad disoriented, unsure whether it was a dream, a glitch, or something more profound. That night, Rad confides in his parents about the situation. His father listens carefully, then reveals something Rad had never heard before. He once dreamed of exploring space too. With a quiet, heartfelt understanding, his father gives Rad his blessing to go, so long as he promises to return home someday. This moment of parental support and shared dreams brings Rad a sense of clarity. The decision is no longer clouded by uncertainty. He knows what he must do. The following morning, the 5 children arrive at the Autobot base, fully packed and brimming with hope. Yet their excitement quickly meets a wall of reality. Hotshot, despite his bond with them, firmly refuses to allow any of them aboard the Axelon. The mission is too dangerous, the stakes too high. But the kids are not alone in their plea. In a surprising show of unity and defiance, the street action Minicon team, High Wire, Sure Shock, and Grindor, combine into their larger form, Perceptor. Acting as both ambassador and advocate, Perceptor makes a powerful statement, disrupting Autobot control panels and persistently signaling their insistence that the humans be allowed to join the mission. Their determination is impossible to ignore. Hotshot, worn down by the combined will of his allies, reluctantly agrees. With that, the 5 human children board the Axelon, alongside the Autobots and the Minicons. The ship navigates through an underwater launch corridor, its engines glowing as it bursts from the ocean's depths. For a breathless moment, the children witness Earth from orbit for the first time, a breathtaking view that leaves them in awe, silently reflecting on the world they're leaving behind. Elsewhere, aboard the Decepticon warship, Megatron watches the Axelon's departure with thinly veiled frustration. Their escape is a bitter setback, yet Thrust, ever the tactician, points out that the Autobots' head start might be meaningless. With the Decepticons' superior engines, they could still reach Cybertron first. The episode closes with the Axolon slicing through the darkness of space, carrying Autobots, Minicons, and 5 determined human children into the unknown. Episode 43, Puppet. The episode opens in the depths of space, with both Autobot and Decepticon ships navigating uneasy silence. Without warning, chaos erupts. A swirling black hole, an unstable electrical vortex, tears through the void, pulling in Hotshot, Red Alert, Megatron, Starscream, Tidal Wave, and Demolisher. Helpless against the sheer force, they are sucked into its core, vanishing from their crew's sight. Moments later, they awaken on a barren, alien world. The desolate landscape offers no shelter, only an endless expanse of jagged rock and swirling dust. Scattered and disoriented, Autobots and Decepticons alike find themselves face to face, stranded together with no backup. Their usual boundaries of ally and enemy suddenly blurred by circumstance. The uneasy tension shatters when an ominous figure steps from the shadows. Nemesis Prime, a dark doppelganger of Optimus. Nemesis radiates a menacing aura, his power immediately apparent. Without hesitation, he attacks, his ferocity overwhelming the stranded warriors. Autobots and Decepticons alike are driven back, their strength insufficient against this relentless force. Old rivalries momentarily fade, as survival becomes the only priority. Aboard the Axolon, Optimus Prime and Jetfire monitor the situation, but it is the Minicons who take decisive action. Channeling their collective power, they focus their energy to track their missing allies through the chaotic dimensional rift. Their efforts pay off as they locate the stranded warriors and send a surge of revitalizing energy through the vortex. Back on the battlefield, the fallen Autobots and Decepticons are enveloped in a shimmering light. As the energy courses through them, their armor transforms, adopting bold new colors and significantly enhanced strength. This sudden resurgence turns the tide, as the once beaten warriors now stand ready to face Nemesis Prime again. Among them, Megatron undergoes a dramatic metamorphosis. His body reshaped and his power amplified. He renames himself Galvatron, a rebirth that signifies not just increased strength, but a pivotal evolution in his character. His transformation sends shockwaves through both factions, altering the dynamics of the ongoing conflict. With their newfound power, the warriors launch a coordinated assault. Galvatron, driven by renewed purpose, takes the lead, joining forces with Optimus Prime, or perhaps a spectral projection of Prime powered by the Minicons. Together, they clash with Nemesis Prime in a fierce battle that shakes the alien terrain. In the climactic moment, Nemesis is finally defeated. But the victory is short-lived. As the dust settles, the truth is revealed in a devastating twist. Nemesis Prime was never truly there. He was a sophisticated holographic illusion, a cruel deception orchestrated by the treacherous Sideways. The revelation sends a ripple of shock and distrust through both factions, exposing once again the layers of manipulation that fuel this war. With the immediate threat neutralized, Autobots and Decepticons regroup, tensions simmering just beneath the surface. Warp portals open, and the warriors return to their respective ships, the fragile, momentary alliance dissolving as quickly as it had formed. The episode closes with both sides bracing for the battles ahead. Galvatron's ascension marks a new, more dangerous chapter, while Sideways' treachery lingers, a shadow over the war that's far from over. Episode 44, Uprising. The Autobots at last return to Cybertron, but their homecoming is far from a victory. As the Axolon limps into orbit, it becomes clear that the Decepticons have seized full control. Galvatron's fleet descends like a hammer, unleashing waves of troops that overwhelm the scattered Autobot resistance. Minicon-powered weapons obliterate 2 Autobot vessels attempting to escape. a brutal demonstration of Galvatron's unrelenting grip on the planet. On Cybertron's surface, Decepticon forces storm through, engaging remnants of the Autobot defense. Starscream, momentarily uncertain in his leadership, hesitates as the battle intensifies, but Thrust stands at his side, pressing him to follow Galvatron's ruthless commands. Meanwhile, aboard the damaged Axelon, the Autobots and their human allies race to repair the vessel. Blur's tactical projections predict heavy conflict in northern Cybertron, where Decepticon strength is concentrated. But Optimus Prime, understanding the need to regroup and preserve their forces, chooses a southern landing, hoping for a chance to rally before diving into direct confrontation. As the Axelon approaches, Highwire, Grindor, Surshock and Carlos exit the airlock to join a growing swarm of minicons assembling outside. Their movements are precise, coordinated, and urgent. They are constructing an energy shield around the planet, a clear sign of impending catastrophe. For the human children watching, the message becomes chillingly clear: Unicron is coming. Once planetside, the Autobots deploy in individual drop pods, scattering across the scarred landscape in search of survivors and remaining strongholds. Optimus Prime and Jetfire make contact with Galvatron's main force, but they are quickly pinned down under heavy Decepticon fire. In the heat of the skirmish, Optimus calls for Overload to launch, despite knowing it will leave some minicons aboard the Axelon vulnerable. The decision is a calculated risk. Overload merges with Optimus, and together they unleash a devastating barrage, breaking through the Decepticon blockade. Elsewhere, Autobot teams rally the last of Cybertron's automated defense systems. Relief vehicles, buried underground, are activated and rise, turning their cannons on the Decepticons. Slowly, methodically, the tide begins to shift as Autobot forces claw back ground. Amid the chaos, Optimus confronts Galvatron directly. But instead of trading blows, Optimus issues a stark warning, pointing skyward to the black hole looming above, the harbinger of Unicron. The gravitational pull is relentless, dragging debris and disabled ships into its swirling maw. Even Galvatron cannot ignore the ominous sight. Realizing the scale of the threat, he orders a temporary retreat. Above, the Minicon shield expands, pulsing with raw energy as it fends off the growing influence of Unicron. Energy rains down upon Cybertron in waves, stabilizing the planet's atmosphere. Yet the shield's power is not just a defensive measure. The Minicon's collective action is a plea, calling for peace and unity in the face of annihilation. Optimus, understanding the fragile balance, leads his team back to the Axelon, regrouping for the battle ahead. But not all are ready to set aside old grudges. Sideways, seething with betrayal, vows revenge against the Minicons for their defiance. Though Galvatron remains skeptical of the Minicons' intentions, Highwire's words cut through the tension. The battle is far from over. Unicron's shadow still looms. For the time being, Autobots and Minicons stand united, bracing for the storm to come, as Cybertron becomes the final battleground for survival. Episode 45, Dash. Aboard the Axelon, the Autobots and human children watch in tense silence as live battle data streams in from Cybertron. The threat of Unicron looms larger with every passing moment, its presence casting a shadow over every decision. The gravity of the situation is unmistakable, and time is running out. Amidst the escalating tension, Hotshot steps forward with a bold proposal. He volunteers for a solo infiltration mission into the Decepticon stronghold. His goal? To persuade Galvatron to set aside hostilities and form a temporary alliance to face the looming annihilation Unicron represents. The risk is enormous, and Red Alert, along with the human kids, pleads with him to reconsider. But Rad, after a moment of reflection, argues they must let Hotshot go. He understands the importance of the mission and trusts Hotshot's resolve to carry it through. With the weight of the moment pressing on everyone, Hotshot departs aboard a stealth craft, slipping quietly toward Decepticon-controlled territory. Meanwhile, the rest of the Autobots, unwilling to stay idle, mobilize to support Jetfire's frontline efforts. As they launch, the Decepticons respond with fierce resistance, but the Autobots are prepared. The Minicons ingeniously deploy holographic decoys of the Axolon, scattering multiple false targets across enemy sensors, throwing Decepticon defenses into disarray. Navigating through tight Decepticon security checkpoints, Hotshot maneuvers his stealth ship with precision, weaving through hazards until he reaches the heart of the Decepticon fortress. He infiltrates the throne room where Galvatron waits, guarded and suspicious. But before Hotshot can state his case, Wheeljack intercepts him, igniting a fierce duel. However, their battle soon gives way to something deeper. Recognizing Hotshot's sincerity and the urgency in his words, Wheeljack intervenes, vouching for his former comrade, and urging Galvatron to hear him out. Galvatron, intrigued yet wary, listens as Hotshot explains the existential threat Unicron poses, not just to Autobots, but to Decepticons and all Cybertronians. Hotshot points out that the Hydra Cannon's alien technology may be intricately linked to Unicron, a revelation that stirs unease within the chamber. As Hotshot speaks, Galvatron's sharp gaze falls upon Thrust. The tactician's thinly veiled panic is evident. The tension snaps when Starscream arrives, cutting through the conversation with a damning revelation. Thrust has been conspiring with Unicron from the start. Caught off guard, Thrust reacts desperately. In a brazen act of betrayal, he seizes both the Requiem Blaster and the Sky Boom Shield, his treachery laid bare for all to see. With the stolen weapons in hand, Thrust flees, his escape triggering immediate chaos within the Decepticon ranks. Galvatron, stunned by Thrust's betrayal, is forced to confront the reality of the Unicron threat. The deception runs deeper than he had believed. The hierarchy within his command is fractured, and the enemy is no longer just the Autobots. With no time to waste, Hotshot, Wheeljack, and Starscream set off in pursuit of the fleeing Thrust, their mutual enmity momentarily set aside in the face of a greater danger. As the chase begins, an unspoken understanding starts to form. The lines between Autobot and Decepticon may have blurred, but survival demands unity. Episode 46, Drift. Unfortunately, Thrust is still at large, and in possession of the Skyboom Shield and Requiem Blaster. Galvatron's focus narrows to a singular objective: hunt down the traitor. He assigns Demolisher to lead the relentless pursuit, pushing aside all other concerns, including the Autobots' strategic movements on Cybertron. For Galvatron, Thrust's betrayal is a wound that cannot be ignored. Meanwhile, deep beneath Cybertron's surface, Wheeljack and Hotshot embark on a covert mission, navigating through ancient caverns that stretch far below the war-torn planet. As they move cautiously through the labyrinth of tunnels, they transmit updates back to Optimus Prime and the Autobots aboard the Axolon. Highwire, listening to the reports, immediately recognizes the significance of the location. They have stumbled into the birthplace of the Minicons. Back at the Autobot base, tension runs high. Despite mounting evidence of Unicron's looming threat, many soldiers resist standing down from their surface fortifications. They view the cosmic danger as too abstract, too distant, believing their hard-won territorial gains on Cybertron take precedence. Morale frays as conviction gives way to doubt. On Earth, Rad is experiencing his own internal struggle. A strange moment of déjà vu while in the shower sparks a lingering question. Could his connection to Highwire mean something more profound than mere coincidence? As he speculates, Carlos dismisses his theory with skepticism, yet the seed of curiosity is planted. Back on Cybertron, Starscream takes matters into his own hands. Determined to confront Thrust, he tracks him into the depths of the caverns. Thrust, always manipulative, tries to sway Starscream, tempting him with promises of power and survival should he align with Unicron. Starscream's loyalty, however, holds firm. He rejects the offer, even as the encounter teeters on the edge of violence. At the same time, Rad, Alexis and Carlos arrive, now wearing color-coded spacesuits, driven by their own intuitive sense of destiny. They descend into the caverns, their path converging with Starscream and Thrust at a critical moment. Thrust, cornered yet desperate, turns the Requiem blaster on the children, ready to eliminate them. As he fires, time itself seems to fracture. Rad is suddenly pulled into a surreal memory, a quiet moment from his childhood, sitting in a car with his mother. Highwire's voice echoes, guiding him through this temporal distortion. Within this vision, Rad is shown the true origin of the Minicons. They were biologically engineered from Unicron's very cells billions of years ago in these vibrant, luminescent caves. The children witness ancient Minicon eggs hatching, a glimpse into a forgotten past. In this moment, Rad understands his role in a larger, cosmic narrative. He telepathically influences the newly born Minicons, directing them toward Earth, completing a causality loop that ties their origins to his own. The confrontation with Thrust reaches its climax when the Street Action Minicon team intervenes, combining their powers to reverse Thrust's lethal attack. The resulting energy backlash triggers a collapse within the cavern, forcing Thrust to retreat into the shadows once more. In the aftermath, Starscream, Wheeljack, the Autobots, and the human children regroup, guided to safety by the Minicons. The deeper truths uncovered in the caverns leave all of them changed, as the threat of Unicron grows ever nearer. Episode 47, Portent. Hotshot, Wheeljack, Rad, Carlos, Alexis, and several Minicons weave through the labyrinthine tunnels beneath Cybertron, their every step reverberating in the hollow underworld. As they chase after Thrust, Rad transmits updates to Optimus Prime, informing him of Starscream's unexpected move, bringing the human children down to the planet's surface himself. Despite Hoist and Jetfire urging a full Autobot withdrawal, Blur interjects, calmly relaying Optimus's counter-order. Assist Hotshot's team at all costs. Far above, Galvatron watches with satisfaction. With his enemies distracted, he consolidates Decepticon forces, preparing to seize control of Cybertron entirely. But deep below, Thrust has his own agenda. Fleeing from Starscream's relentless pursuit, Thrust dives headlong into a shimmering, unstable portal. Starscream follows without hesitation. On the other side, they emerge into a grotesque, organic cavern, a stark contrast to Cybertron's mechanical coldness. The walls pulse with a sickly, lifelike rhythm, lined with the husks of fallen Transformers. Amidst the eerie glow, Sideways stands waiting, the Requiem blaster in one hand and the Skyboom shield in the other. He confronts Starscream, prodding him to choose a side, but Starscream's defiance is immediate and absolute. Sideways' response is simple and cruel. A swarm of acidic, spider-like parasites descends from the shadows, latching onto anything that moves. Hotshot and Wheeljack rush in, but the parasites' tendrils coil around them, pulling them into the suffocating mass. The Minicons respond swiftly, their signals harmonizing into a sharp, whistling frequency that disorients the parasites, providing a brief reprieve. Rad and Alexis scramble to amplify the effect, but Sideways and Thrust press forward, indifferent to the chaos left behind. Toxic tendrils trail their path, spreading corruption as they vanish deeper into the cavern. With no time to strategize, Wheeljack and Hotshot improvise. Back to back, they spin into a furious cyclone, flinging the parasites away in a desperate bid for survival. It works, barely. The swarm disperses, but the cost is clear. They are running out of time and options. Amid the tension, Alexis voices what none of the others dare. She trusts Starscream. Her conviction cuts through the moment's urgency and the others relent. Starscream steps in, his loyalty now silently acknowledged. Deeper within, Sideways reaches Unicron's dormant core, locking the Requiem blaster and Skyboom shield into place. His fury simmers as he berates Thrust's failure to secure the Starsaber, but his focus remains unwavering. awakening Unicron. The pursuit leads the group upwards, through a crumbling passage that bursts onto a shocking vista. They are no longer beneath Cybertron, they're standing on its moon. But the surface beneath them is alive, fissuring and trembling, as if awakening from a long slumber. In the chaos, Jetfire descends, managing to extract Hotshot, Wheeljack, the kids, and the Minicons from the fracturing terrain. The truth becomes undeniable. Cybertron's moon has been Unicron's dormant body all along. As the dust settles, Starscream lingers on the edge of the group, his departure imminent. But Alexis' quiet plea halts him. Her faith, unshaken despite everything, gives him pause. He turns to acknowledge her, gratitude flickering across his face. Then, without a word, he departs. Alexis, pendant in hand, watches him disappear into the shadows, reflecting on the fragile lines of trust and betrayal etched deep into the endless war between Autobots and Decepticons. Episode 48, Cramp. Optimus Prime stands at the heart of a raging battlefield, striving for diplomacy in a war that no longer listens. He approaches Galvatron, extending a final offer. Autobots and Decepticons must unite or face annihilation at the hands of Unicron. But Galvatron, ever suspicious, sees only treachery. He dismisses Starscream's urgent warnings as deception, refusing to believe his loyal lieutenant could be anything but manipulative. When Starscream persists, pleading with memories of Unicron's destructive power, Galvatron's patience snaps. His fist strikes hard, silencing Starscream with a brutal blow. As their leaders clash in words and fists, the two factions refuse to heed the call for peace. Blinded by hatred and history, they escalate the battle, weapons roaring across the scarred Cybertronian landscape. Outnumbered and outgunned, Optimus Prime retreats from the front line, flanked by Jetfire and Overload. The Autobots regroup, shielding themselves against the Decepticons' relentless assault, led by Galvatron, wielding the Star Saber with devastating precision. Amid the storm of battle, Alexis' voice lingers in Starscream's mind. Her trust, fragile yet genuine, becomes a spark in his fractured conscience. As Unicron's dormant shell begins to shatter, shards of the moon's surface peel away, revealing the horrifying truth. The moon had been Unicron's chrysalis, and now the Planet Eater stirs. The battlefield tilts into chaos as gravity itself rebels. Amid the turmoil, Starscream makes his choice. He turns his back on the Decepticons, his resolve hardened. With Unicron's energy lashing the sky, he challenges Galvatron to single combat. The battlefield shrinks around them as they clash, locked in a deadly ballet of blades and willpower. Galvatron's fury is merciless. The Star Saber finds its mark, impaling Starscream in a vicious strike. Yet, even mortally wounded, Starscream refuses to fall. Bleeding and unbowed, Starscream raises his voice one last time, imploring both factions to unite. His words, carved from raw conviction, pierce through the noise of war. With his Minicon's aid, Starscream unleashes a desperate proton blast at Unicron. But the Titan's retaliation is immediate and absolute. A beam of dark energy strikes Starscream, disintegrating him in an instant. His sacrifice, though fleeting, ignites a spark of realization among his former enemies. In the eerie silence that follows, Galvatron stands over the charred ground, his expression unreadable. Starscream's death weighs heavy, shattering the pride and rage that once defined him. At last, he concedes to Optimus Prime's alliance proposal, recognizing the truth that unity is their only chance against Unicron's wrath. Yet victory is not so easily claimed. From the crater where Starscream fell, a dark mist slithers forth. It coils through the air with sentient malice, seizing the fallen Star Saber. The mist twists and condenses, forming the silhouette of Sideways. With a mocking grace, Sideways retreats into a portal leading back into Unicron's core, sealing it behind him and slipping beyond reach. Aboard the Axelon, the human children receive news of Starscream's demise. The atmosphere turns heavy with grief. Alexis, unable to sit still, paces by the observation window, her tears silent yet relentless. Rad stands nearby, offering quiet support, knowing there are no words that can soothe such a loss. The team mourns, not just a fallen warrior, but an unlikely friend whose redemption came at the highest cost.
Optimus, transform!
Episode 49, Alliance. As Unicron stirs, inching closer to full awakening, the war between Autobots and Decepticons grinds to a halt. The battlefield quiets, not from peace, but from uncertainty. In the aftermath of Starscream's sacrifice, Galvatron stands apart, grappling with a rare moment of introspection. Perhaps, he muses, he was wrong to dismiss the warnings. Pride and rivalry must yield, for Unicron's shadow looms larger than any faction's ambition. In a moment heavy with unspoken history, Galvatron approaches Optimus Prime. The weight of countless battles hangs in the air as the Decepticon leader extends a hand, a gesture as foreign to him as peace itself. Optimus accepts, clasping Galvatron's hand in a ceremonial handshake. The truce is fragile, stitched together by necessity rather than trust, but in this fleeting moment, unity feels possible. With their alliance forged, Autobots and Decepticons prepare for a mission unlike any before. Their target, the core of Unicron himself. Both factions assemble scout teams, blending old rivals into uneasy partners. Among them are Hotshot, Sideswipe, Cyclonus, and Demolisher, warriors now bound by shared survival. The mission begins as the teams breach Unicron's unstable surface. The landscape is a nightmare of constant flux. Metallic ground twists and breathes as if alive, creating fissures and collapses with little warning. Dead-end drones swarm relentlessly, their attacks precise and merciless. Yet, amidst the chaos, moments of unexpected camaraderie emerge. When a sudden chasm splits beneath them, Demolisher lunges without hesitation, grabbing Cyclonus and Sideswipe before they vanish into the abyss. His grip is firm, his motives uncomplicated. Survival now demands more than loyalty to a single flag. Elsewhere, Hotshot's team stumbles upon Demolisher's Minicon partner, Blackout, trapped beneath shifting debris. Autobots and Decepticons work side by side, freeing Blackout in a fleeting moment of shared purpose. The rescue is a small victory, but its significance runs deep. For once, faction lines blur in the face of a greater enemy. As the scouts press deeper, Unicron's transformation accelerates. The ground quakes violently as portions of his lunar shell crumble, revealing the monstrous silhouette of his true robot form. The Allied fleet watches from orbit as Unicron's titanic figure begins to rise, his sheer scale dwarfing everything in sight. The realization is stark. The being they fight is not merely a weapon, but a cosmic force of annihilation. With reconnaissance data secured, Optimus and Galvatron order a tactical retreat. The scouts withdraw, navigating the collapsing pathways as Unicron's awakening accelerates. When they regroup aboard their fleet, the leaders convene once more. Both remain guarded, their long history of conflict not so easily set aside, but necessity binds them tighter than past grudges. Survival demands cooperation, no matter how uneasy. As preparations commence, Autobots and Decepticons stand shoulder to shoulder, their combined forces poised for the looming confrontation. Tension crackles in the air. Not just the tension of imminent battle, but of old enemies forced into alliance. Yet, beneath that friction lies an emerging truth. This fight is not about conquest or revenge. It's about survival. The war they now face is one they cannot afford to lose. Together, they brace for the titanic struggle ahead as Unicron's shadow swells across the stars. Episode 50, Union. Unicron looms over Cybertron, a colossal silhouette pulsating with destructive energy. His awakening sends tremors across space, shaking both Autobots and Decepticons to their core. As the enormity of the threat becomes undeniable, Galvatron, with rare restraint, orders his forces to retreat and avoid direct engagement. The Decepticon warlord understands that brute strength is meaningless against a godlike adversary. Yet not all heed caution. Perched arrogantly on Unicron's shoulder, Thrust basks in his perceived ascendance. His taunts ripple through the communication channels, mocking the defenders below while his mind simmers with vengeance, fixated on settling scores with Sideways for stealing the Starsaber and denying him rightful glory. But Unicron's silence unsettles him. The Titan's indifference gnaws at Thrust's pride, twisting his loyalty into something increasingly unhinged. Below, the combined Cybertronian fleet scrambles into action. Fighter squads, led by Hotshot and Wheeljack, streak across the sky, forming a desperate strike formation. Their weapons, though valiant in effort, are powerless against Unicron's titanic form. Still, their barrage has purpose, not to destroy, but to distract. They focus their assault on Thrust, making his exposed position atop Unicron a magnet for their firepower. Their gamble pays off. The relentless flyby's force thrust into a frenzied defense, his composure unraveling as he becomes the unwitting focal point of the battle. Meanwhile, Cybertronian sensors lock onto a fleeting opportunity, a structural weak point in Unicron's neck. It's a sliver of hope, but hope is all they have. Recognizing the slim chance, Optimus Prime and Galvatron convene with urgency. Despite the fraught alliance, their strategy is unified. They will infiltrate Unicron's core, awaken the dormant Minicons, and strike from within. While the external assault keeps Unicron distracted, their mission will attack the Planet Eater where it truly matters. As Optimus and Galvatron ready their infiltration teams, Hotshot assumes command of surface operations. Tasked with buying time, he coordinates the diversion with surgical precision, rallying the Armada into one final push. The sky ignites as Unicron retaliates, unleashing a cataclysmic energy barrage that scours Cybertron's surface. Cities shatter, and the very crust of the planet fractures under the onslaught. Before the second wave can fall, Optimus and Galvatron launch their offensive, threading through collapsing debris and energy storms to breach Unicron's defenses. Once inside, the war changes. The titanic bombardments are replaced by claustrophobic corridors and organic machinery, shifting and reshaping to repel intruders. The stakes become personal. Every step toward Unicron's spark chamber, a battle against time and the ever-morphing environment. Above, Thrust remains fixated on the outside battle, unaware of the infiltration brewing beneath his feet. His fanaticism teeters into madness as Unicron's continued silence feeds his insecurities. Loyalty twists into obsession, and his vendetta against Sideways blinds him to the growing instability of the Titan he so reveres. Within Unicron's depths, Optimus and Galvatron navigate toward the Minicon's chambers. They exchange a few words, but their shared purpose is clear. Both understand the peril if Unicron completes his transformation. Their fragile alliance now hinges on one goal: reignite the Minicon weapons from within and cripple the behemoth before it fully awakens. Trust remains elusive, but necessity binds them as they prepare for the confrontation within Unicron's spark chamber, the heart of the battle yet to come. Episode 51, Origin. As the episode title suggests, it begins with the truth behind Unicron and the endless war. Deep within the monstrous Titan's core, Optimus Prime and Galvatron advance cautiously, their uneasy alliance hanging by a thread. The three legendary Minicon weapons, the Star Saber, Skyboom Shield, and Requiem Blaster, are embedded into Unicron's heart, their power suppressed beneath writhing organic tendrils that pulse with dark energy. Their presence awakens an old adversary. Sideways steps from the shadows, his voice now a vessel for Unicron's will. The air thickens as Unicron speaks, not in rage, but in chilling certainty. He reveals his origin, a being born from eons of Autobot and Decepticon hatred, feasting on their conflict to fuel his growth. Every battle, every act of vengeance has been nourishment, feeding his evolution into a planet-sized harbinger of annihilation. Without warning, black tendrils lash out, ensnaring Galvatron and suspending him mid-air. His defiance fades into grim silence as Unicron begins to siphon his life force. Optimus, though similarly trapped, remains conscious, his mind bombarded by Sideways' provocations. Sideways insinuates that perhaps Optimus too draws strength from war. That conflict defines him as much as it sustains Unicron. The words cut deep, yet Optimus endures, tethered to purpose amidst the suffocating grip. Beyond the core, the battle for Cybertron worsens. Red Alert, battered but resolute, transmits grim news. Cybertron lies in ruin, its surface a canvas of devastation, as Unicron's forces tighten their siege. The planet teeters on the brink of collapse. Above the maelstrom, Hotshot, Sideswipe, and a squadron of aerial warriors mount a desperate offensive. They breach Unicron's exterior, carving into the Titan's neck with a ferocity born of sheer will. Yet their strikes achieve the opposite effect. Every wound inflicted is swiftly healed, Unicron's mass swelling with newfound power. Their attacks, designed to cripple, only serve to nourish him further. Inside Unicron's labyrinthine mindscape, a different battle rages. The human children, Rad, Alexis and Carlos, find themselves trapped within surreal, shifting illusions crafted to pacify and control. Fantasies blur with fears, yet Alexis, driven by sheer force of will, pierces through the deception. Rad's desperate calls echo across the void, reaching their Minicon ally, High Wire. Stirred by their bond, High Wire awakens, shattering the psychic chains that bind them. Together, the Minicon team regains clarity, their awakening sending a pulse that disrupts Unicron's mental dominion. With their minds free, the Minicons channel their energies into reactivating the dormant weapons. A surge of light floods Unicron's core, unraveling the tendrils that had ensnared Optimus and Galvatron. Sideways, caught in the backlash, falters. Seizing the moment, Optimus wields the Requiem blaster, unleashing a devastating shot. The blast obliterates Sideways' form, reducing him to a fragmented Minicon shell, his twisted role in Unicron's scheme brought to a final violent end. But as the chaos subsides, Galvatron stands, his focus shifting once more to Optimus. The weight of their long war settles between them. Despite the victory over Unicron, their rivalry remains unresolved. Galvatron declares it is time to settle their conflict, once and for all. Optimus, with unflinching resolve, agrees, this time with no illusions, no distractions, only truth. This episode truly delivers the series' core revelation. Unicron was not an external invader, but a consequence of the Transformers' own hatred. Their war had forged him, their animosity given form. Yet through the courage of the human children, the unity of Autobots and Decepticons, and the reawakening of the Minicons, a fragile path to redemption opens. But before Cybertron's future can be rebuilt, Optimus and Galvatron must confront the legacy of their shared past. One final battle that will decide the fate of their world. Episode 52, Mortal Kombat. With Unicron seemingly vanquished, his immense form dormant and adrift in space, the combined forces of Autobots and Decepticons regroup on a battered Cybertron. The alliance that once stood united against annihilation now teeters on collapse. The tension is palpable. Galvatron, resolute and unyielding, insists the war must continue. In his eyes, Unicron's body may be lifeless, but the hatred that gave birth to the Planet Eater still lingers. Left unresolved, it could reignite the very threat they just defeated. Optimus Prime, alongside Rad, Alexis, Carlos, Billy and Fred, stands against this logic. The human children, weary from battle and loss, plead for peace, urging the factions to break the cycle, but Galvatron remains unmoved. For him, conflict is not merely inevitable, it is essential. As tensions mount, Cybertronian scouts issue a chilling report. Unicron stirs once more. His dormant form shifts, subtly but unmistakably, as though feeding on the renewed animosity. Alarmed, Hotshot rallies for a preemptive strike, but Jetfire intervenes, volunteering for a critical mission: rescue Optimus, who remains inside Unicron's body. Cyclonus joins him, setting aside old allegiances for a final act of duty. Inside, Optimus prepares for the confrontation he knows cannot be avoided. He parts from the children, entrusting their safety to Jetfire, and discards the Matrix, fearing its destruction in the coming clash. The time for words is over. He meets Galvatron in the heart of Unicron, where their long conflict comes to a head. Their duel erupts with ferocity. Energy blasts, brutal strikes, and unrelenting determination drive them to the edge. Each attack reverberates within Unicron, stirring flickers of the Dark Titan's power. Outside, Jetfire retrieves the children, returning them safely to Cybertron. Hotshot leads the fleet in a cautious offensive, mindful to avoid interfering in the deadly duel raging inside Unicron. The battle intensifies. Optimus, using every ounce of strength, hurls his wheel shield into Galvatron's cannon, temporarily disabling his weapon. Galvatron retaliates, revealing hidden wrist blades that pierce Optimus's armor. Wounded, Prime refuses to fall. Around them, Unicron's voice echoes, a ghostly reminder of the hatred that fuels his existence. Their struggle spills onto Unicron's external surface, now cracking and collapsing as the Titan's form reverts. Amid the chaos, Optimus delivers a powerful blow, knocking Galvatron back and following up with a decisive knee strike. The ground beneath them crumbles, and both are pulled toward Unicron's open maw, a final test of will and conviction. Clinging to the edge, Galvatron urges Optimus to let go, to allow him to fall, to deny Unicron the sustenance of their hatred. Optimus reaches out, unwilling to sacrifice an enemy who once fought beside him. But Galvatron makes the choice himself. He severs their grasp and descends into oblivion. His death, a final act of defiance. With his sacrifice, Unicron collapses in upon itself, vanishing into silence. In the aftermath, Optimus drifts alone through space, battered and reflective. He clutches the discarded Matrix, overcome by the weight of survival and sacrifice, questioning whether he is worthy to bear its light. The children return safely to Earth, their memories marked by war and hard-won peace. On Cybertron, an uneasy calm settles. The factions disarm, not in full trust, but in mutual exhaustion. Yet far away, Unicron's remnants drift silently behind a distant green planet, a haunting reminder that as long as hatred remains, the cycle may not yet be broken. Over the years, Armada has grown in reputation, especially among fans who were kids during its original run. It laid the groundwork for the Unicron trilogy, brought Unicron back as a cosmic menace, and delivered one of the most interesting takes on Starscream we've seen. One can say it really solidified Transformers as a franchise that can keep reinventing itself for different generations and formats, making sure the war for Cybertron stays alive in new and exciting ways. Still, Transformers. Armada had its flaws, and critics back then were quick to highlight them. Some folks really liked its big ideas, the way the story developed, and the new Minicons concept. On the flip side, there were some critics about the animation feeling rushed, the dubbing being a bit awkward, and the pacing being all over the place, especially in the beginning. Even with its imperfections, Armada really managed to capture something special, a feeling of wonder, vastness, and change, both in the story and in the characters. Today, Transformers Armada stands as a nostalgic touchstone, and a bold experiment of using anime-style frames for American morning cartoons. It wasn't flawless, but it was fearless, and sometimes that's exactly what a transforming sci-fi robot saga needs. If you want to contribute to our efforts in bringing you this cartoon awesomeness, do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more.